And it says we're live. And
it's alive.
I'm never ready for that. Even though I hit the
Right.
button and set it into motion, I'm always like,
Yeah, there's not really a lot of fanfare. It just starts happening. Yeah. Look, there's already people here. It's fantastic.
I'm like a deer in the headlight. Yeah, there's people lined up.
Yeah, fantastic.
I see a lot of our usual suspects here. Scoop is in the house. This is new one. All consuming Jaws. What's happening, man? Abel D, Chevy Hemi. Some new names here. Nathan McCree. Welcome, guys.
Awesome.
Fubar, the ultimate mod, and Fubar is putting up a link already.
Thanks so much, buddy. Hey, you guys, we hit 72,000 subscribers today, and then YouTube unsubscribed a bunch of them again. So,
oh, jeez.
I don't know why I get it. I get literally hundreds a week.
You cleared 72,000, and then they took them away from you?
Yeah.
How many did you lose?
Well, I lose hundreds every week.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I don't know why they do that. We went through. It's like an auditing process. When we were about at your level, just going back a few years, 60, 70,000 subs, and all of a sudden we lost like 8,000 subs, and it was like.
Yeah, they did do a bot purge at one time. They did. But I mean, I get notes from people who've watched the show for 12 years and they get unsubscribed and they never miss one. So YouTube pretends that it's like you haven't watched enough of the videos, but I don't know. We're not gonna get into that today.
But at any rate, guys, Fubar put up a link. If you're not familiar with Scott, go over
Thanks,
it.
buddy.
Yes. And,
yes. And we're just here to hang out. Mexican Spec in the house again. Awesome.
And so is Zero.
And Zero. Cheers, buddy.
So what's new and exciting with you, bro?
Well, I'm embarking on we talked briefly on your tech show about a small block Chev rebuild I'm doing.
Okay.
And for my Impala. So that's kind of fun for me. I haven't done thousands of engines like you, so it's always an adventure. And I like to build them. That's why I really like your junkyard motor builds, because it's like I'm reusing those pistons, I'm reusing all that stuff. And it's going to get a light hone. I literally took it over to my neighbor's house today, and he has a hot seat, those steam things.
Yep.
And I stuck it right in the oil galleries, and I blew them all out, and I blew out all the water passages and blew it off. And I'm like, yeah, that's good enough. We'll get honing it. And it's 60 over already from a rebuild from not too long ago. So that's coming up, and going to be a 3-speed stick car. So me and Bun are going to go through the transmission. And so, yeah, just that's underway. I'm actually going to start the crazy roadster that I started 20 years ago. We're going to finish it this summer. So that's going to be coming up. And
how far along on the rebuild are you?
On the motor? Oh, yeah. Just cleaned the block.
The block.
It's tore down. Yeah, I've got the heads apart. We start doing the heads.
See, that's really good Evergreen content, because we have engine stuff that we did 6, 7, 8 years ago, and it consistently gets views and it consistently gets comments. There's always interaction with it. The most popular one is the honing. We did just a hone your backyard sewing home thing. It's got probably close to 800,000 views now, and it just constantly. It's always every week. It's got 1,000 views.
Really? Yeah. See, I get none of that. I don't have a single video that gets views more than a week out. They're all completely buried.
Probably because you're not doing much in the way of evergreen content like that. So like somebody searching for
no, that's true. Yeah.
That's when we got started. That was like my goal. Everything that we put out, not everything, but the majority or the things I was looking for when we first got started was evergreen content. Something that people are going to search for this.
Still valid,
3 years now, 5 years now. So like our carburetor basics, tuning, setup, blah, 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 all of that stuff constantly gets views. I did one tuning with a vacuum gauge.
Mm-hmm.
It started out as I don't know, it got like 15, 20,000 views initially. It's over 1 million.
Oh, wow.
It's consistently getting views. So
I'll have to watch that one. I like to tune that way. I've always thought
there's
maximum
nothing you're going
vacuum.
to learn from me.
Didn't work.
You're going to learn from me.
Well, I'll probably be pestering you.
Zero is asking, is that a J or a P base behind you?
Oh, that's a P base. P base copy.
I don't know that.
Oh, that's a Fender Precision.
Okay.
As opposed to a Fender Jazz.
I don't even know why I clicked on this one. But it's a decent question.
Now we're all curious though. So
how much money do you make from YouTube? How does that work? I make significantly more than you would think, but not enough to be rich. Okay, by any stretch of the imagination.
I think the best you can hope for with YouTube is that you can make enough that it lets you do the things that you want to do, and it doesn't ruin your life. That's all I ever had a goal for it, right? I'm only in it for the cars, right? I'm in it for the cars. If it lets me work on my cars and the lights are still on every day, I'm done. I'm happy with that.
Well, see, that's the nice thing about doing YouTube is that no matter what whim you happen to have, you turn it into content and it automatically pays for itself. So if I see a bike,
some of my whims don't pay very good.
You're probably just not titling them and doing all
that's
that.
Right. I can't believe how shitty this car is.
But you see, if you put in the type of car, then everybody who searches that type of car is going to come across your video saying how shitty it is. The way YouTube works is that we get paid off the ads that they run in the beginning, the middle, and the end of the video, and we get a percentage of that. And the way you make money with YouTube is not okay. If you're a big channel where every video you put out gets 1 million views, 2 million views, like that, you make money off of the videos that you're putting out all the time. But when you're a small channel like us, the way you make money is through what they call evergreen content, which means that it's stuff that's clickable that people will click on forever. And so it adds up. You have to have at least 600-700 videos in the can, and probably a quarter of those have to be like easily searchable, highly carbureted this, HEI ignition, that, right? Because people are always searching for those things, so they're always clicking on it, and you're always getting paid. And the more you put out there, the more you make. It's that simple. It's a great business. I love the business. I love the business.
Yeah, I approached it wrong from day one, and now I'm kind of too stubborn to change it. Like, YouTube doesn't want you to put out one video a week, right?
No.
But when I started, well, it was 16 years ago next week, actually.
Wow.
I know. For a guy, I literally never held a job more than 6 months, and now 16 years of this. I remember back when people watched TV that, if the TV show was good, everything would stop at 2 o'clock or 7 o'clock on Tuesday night. And that was, okay, the streets would be empty because Seinfeld was on, or whatever, The Simpsons, or whatever it was. And I thought that's the way to do it. That's why I always published the video at exactly the same time to the second and I thought, but that is not what YouTube wants. But it's too late now. Like, I'm not changing it. So
the bigger channels, okay, they do that. They post once a week, using exactly what you're talking about, the method that you're talking about. But unless you're in that elite group where you consistently get, let's say, over 1 million views a video, YouTube won't honor you, right? And it also has to do with length too. If you're going to do once a week, you've got to do an hour or an hour and a half. You have to make it that event but you have to have so much momentum behind it. And I don't want to play that game. I'm just, you know what I mean? I don't want to do will it run a drive? You spend your life on the road. I don't want to spend my life on the road. I've already done that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I was doing a lot more of that when I started, and we did some fun junker revivals and racing and stuff, and I still love that stuff. But the trouble is that we were starting with such terrible cars, and so a whole summer would go by, and at the end of the summer, you got these two heaps, and their motors are rebuilt, and they're running, and it was great fun. You go have a race or whatever, super fun. But then those cars are literally no closer to being roadworthy than they were when you started. Like now they're running garbage with no floors and no brakes, whereas before they were inert garbage with no. So in order for this to work for me, I'm like, well, I've just started, using it as a way to help me restore my cars. And hopefully, I mean, I never set it out to be a how-to, because how to do stuff is a very dangerous thing. There's always somebody who's got a better way. So I just thought, here's what I'm going to do. If you learn anything, great, I'm happy. But if you have a better way of doing it, well, that's fine, because I was not telling you how to do it. So I've used it as a way to support my car habit, really. I'm just literally in it for the cars. I just love cars. I'm just sick about it.
So what I find is that like micro how-tos tend to work well over time. Like for instance, bolt extraction. How many everybody snaps?
That's a very universal problem that everybody has, right?
Right. So I've done a few different bolt extraction things over the years, and they get consistent views. The craziest video I've ever done, I'm not the craziest video I've ever done, but as far as results go, was I did how to revive a dead battery with a stick welder.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So the numbers are stupid on this thing. This was one of those things, right? It was New Year's Eve, okay? And I needed to get something out because I hadn't posted in a few days. And I needed to get something out, anything out. So I had a dead battery, and don't ask me why. I remembered someplace in the back of my head, somebody did a video about I'm reviving a battery stick welder. It says, I'll just do this. So I ran over to Harbor Freight. I grabbed the stick welder real quick because I didn't have one. It was like a $100 stick welder. I had a dead battery. Kathy shot it. We did the whole thing like, one shot over the course of, let's say, an hour it took us to shoot it. It's at like 1.6 million views right now. And it's netted me like $28,000.
Yeah.
That's the lottery ticket.
That's the lottery win. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the lottery ticket. And that's the great thing about YouTube, is that every video you put out is a potential lottery ticket, because all it has to do is to get just hooked into the right loop.
Yeah. I gave up hoping for that. Yeah. All my videos literally get within 1% of each other, same number of views. Isn't that strange? I don't think there's another channel like that. Like a good video for me will get 21,000 views in a week, and a bad video will get 20,000.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Like,
see, I'm all over the map.
And everybody is. But my videos, it looks like a heartbeat on the thing. It's absolutely the same. Within sometimes it's actually the exact number of views. Like, and I'm sitting here trying in my brain to pretend that something is not working against me here, but
there's I'm not going to mention the name of the channel. I used to be associated with them, and every once in a while I'll just check in to see how they're doing. And they have that same thing. No matter what they put out, it falls into this range of between like 25 and like 35,000 views. Doesn't matter what the title is, what the thumbnail is, but it's like consistent. Me, I'm all over the map. I'll put out a video, it gets 300,000, 500,000, 700,000 views, and then I put out one that gets like 10,000 views. So I just ride the wave. Yeah,
I guess the thing is, I had to, after this many years, if I was kept trying to chase that, it would drive me crazy. So now I'm just going to do what I'm doing, and hey, it's still better than having a job where I have to get up at 6 and drive across the city. And it's, I don't have to fake it. We're not pretending to have fun out there. Like, I don't pretend when my friends come over that we all have a dressing room meeting and go, okay, you pretend that, there's none of that. There can't be, because it wouldn't work. Even to the point where I can't put microphones on people because it just destroys the spontaneity.
It's so true reality
production has to suffer in order for it to be real, and I do my best to mitigate it with EQing and whatever, but I know in order for it to be I guess the thing is, I kind of didn't notice that, you know, YouTube has moved on and become rather polished, a lot of it.
A lot of it.
And, you know, and I can't.
We are the new media. YouTube is the new. YouTube is eating everything. We're the news. We're the television. We're the everything, right?
Yeah.
It's not what I want it to be. I wish we could go back. I watch this channel. Have you ever seen? Oh God, I'm right at the tip of my friggin' tongue. Have a good day. What's his name?
I don't know.
Why can't I remember the name of this channel? This guy's he's been doing YouTube like for as long as you have, like going back like 16 years.
Okay.
Of it. Why can't I think of his name?
It'll come to
I
you.
even have one of his shirts. This is what happens when you get old, man. Things just fall out of your head. Somebody help me with this, guys. Have a good day.
Who's the have a good day guy? I'm sure
that's his.
Is he a car guy?
No. He's like an eater. He eats things, hot stuff. LA Beast. Thank you, 72Z28. Thank you. LA Beast.
Okay. Yeah.
I binge watch his channel occasionally because it's just an escape from the modern world, and it's true old school YouTube. It's like it makes me wish we could go back to that. It's completely unpolished. It's just this guy. He sits down in front of the camera, in front of whatever task, whatever challenge he has, and he just blows through it the way it used to be, you know. And you can see the contrast between like what he does and the way YouTube, you know, and what it is today. And I don't really like the way it is today, but you play the game.
Yeah. And again, you know, there are times when I have to stop myself from getting pissed because I'm like, oh, I put so much work into that and blah, blah. And yeah, well, you could always go back to punching the clock at a body shop, you know? So
no, see, I'm hardcore unemployable. I would have to go at this stage of the game. I mean, like, I don't have the manual dexterity to go back and dive into being a mechanic. I would have to rob liquor stores, gas stations.
That
sort of thing.
I'd be picking bottles, actually. Yeah.
So,
no, I haven't had a job in like 24 years now. So
Kim fixes things in the house. We're going to be doing a live with them.
Oh, cool.
We're going to do
Porsche Racer is here. He's from Saskatchewan, I believe. Cheers, buddy.
Oh, I bet you.
Great to see everybody. Some people saw me.
Junk's Automotive. He's been at it for 17 years. Only regular for the last 2. YouTube can be a grind.
Yeah,
I've heard that.
Mike at Junk's Automotive. Yeah, he's been a very kind supporter of whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, I've seen his channel. I've seen his channel.
So yeah, it's a fun thing, and I started out as a joke, and then, you know, I think a lot of people, like, it's funny because my videos would occasionally go viral when I first started. Like, I would get a video, would get 300,000 views, and I mean, I haven't gotten more than about half of that in the last 5 years.
Think about how much more competition there is.
Oh yeah. No, and don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I'm happy that, you know, that I get to get up every day. The thing is, I get to get up and work on my cars, and that's all I ever wanted. I got a great big heated garage.
You have an awesome life. Now, if we could help get your numbers up a little bit, I could probably help you with titling and stuff like that if you want.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you're an old pro, but I don't know, maybe sometimes you don't see the forest for the trees. You're so deep into something, you're so deep into your own head that you don't actually see the potential that's beyond that. So I mean, if you want to like brainstorm some titles and thumbnail words and stuff like that, I'd be more than happy to.
Yeah, well, I obviously could use a lot of work on that, and but I mean, I have a very small but dedicated audience who keep it on the air, and that's why their names are at the end of those videos. Is without them, well, and I literally was going to quit probably 10 years ago, 8 or 10 years ago, But enough people were like, I'll pay $5 a month to keep this on the air. And that's what keeps it on the air. So there's Anthony Smith.
Yep. I'll admit Coldwarmotors is the one channel I watch consistently. What hooked me was watching you pull a piece of shit 1964 Fury from the cow shit of a pasture. Beautiful.
Oh, well, thanks. That's very kind. Yeah, well, I thought, let's do something. There's a lot of channels on YouTube, and a lot of them can do stuff. So let's do something that's, something that's difficult. But now you've committed yourself to a 5-year project. And even though I have the patience for that, maybe a lot of people don't have the patience to watch me work on the same car for 5 years. So
yeah, if you break that down into like miniature, like you say, okay, you don't want to do tutorials because somebody's always got a better way, but you have your way. You know what I mean? So it's just
and each week there's every little microscopic part of the car is treated as its own project.
Right, and that's why I've done projects in the past. I mean, I built as many cars as I ever care to build before I started doing YouTube. But now when you start a new project car, it's not the car or even the end results of the car. It's the hundreds of little bits of information, inspiration for video or just like, because it's like you don't think about, we got to pull the bushings out of this. Here, let's do a quick video on how to weld the thing or washer to the bushing and knock it out this way, right? So that's the whole purpose of doing projects. It's to find all of those little mini.
Yeah, well, a car is 1,000 incredibly simple machines all working at the same time, and each one of those machines can be treated as its own project. And so I started little videos where we will take apart a generator and rebuild that, and it's its own little thing. And the car in the background over the next 5 years gets rebuilt, but some people, they'll watch you do a motor or weld a panel in. But I mean, I got to do the upholstery too. So that takes hundreds of hours to upholster a car too. Right, but that doesn't, people aren't like, oh, I can't wait to watch a guy sew the seats up,
Your case, you talk about the generator, right? So that's actually a pretty good video. Because it's not so much rebuilding the generator. You're going to use that as the foundation. But it's like you can do a whole video on how generators work and the difference between a generator and an alternator and how the regulator ties into it and blah, 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 blah. And that is a good, solid evergreen video.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, bro, you have so much potential. It's ridiculous. But Nano Lifer here says it. I believe it's 100%. A good, positive channel will definitely do good in this climate.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think that the theme that runs through whatever I'm doing is really about the value of good friends and a good dog and being worth knowing. That's literally it. Like,
by the way, he's wearing headphones right now because when my dogs start barking, his dog starts barking.
My dog, and then it's just, sorry. Then we got barking in like two different countries at the same time.
Thomas is saying Coldwarmotors is an automotive variety show. I love it.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, well, I really do try to. I said when I started that I wouldn't put anything out that I wouldn't watch, and that's kind of my stand. Now I'll watch some pretty boring shit, I guess, but I literally will, like, because I watch the videos back before I ever publish them, and I'm like, oh, that's a little slow there, and I'll chop it up. And, I really do try. I do try, and I do take it seriously that I want it to be good. So I appreciate, occasionally people, see something in it, and that really means a lot.
Kim,
but we did say, should let everybody know, that we will try to answer a few questions.
Yes.
Sometimes we get a little chatting, and the next thing you know, it's 2 hours later. So
there is something I want to ask you about specifically, and I will in a minute. But Kim is on here, and Kim and Buff do like almost, and I like what they do. I like the format of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I check in on you guys, by the way. Sometimes I'll have you in the back playing in the background while I'm doing other stuff. But Kim and Buff do a thing like they do a live like almost every night, where they're in the garage and they're either working on stuff, or they'll go through viewers' cars and stuff like that. And they have a nice tight little community there. It doesn't get a whole lot of views. It should get a lot more views than it does. But then again, I think that would kind of hurt the feel of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do watch you guys. I do watch you guys.
It's a balancing act for sure. Like, to, you know, how technical versus how much goofing off, and how, you know, so I do try, but, you know, as I say, just because I would watch it doesn't necessarily mean that anybody else will. Mexican Spec had a suggestion that you'd like to see a tutorial on restoring stainless trim.
Yes,
that's fair. I have done some videos that you know, overview. I did put up a couple of more detailed ones on the Patreon page, and sometimes the super technical stuff goes there, like polishing paint, stuff that's a little dry, but sometimes people might want to know. Maybe I think it's dry and other people wouldn't. Maybe that's my problem, is that I've just done so much of it that I forget that there's people who haven't. So I appreciate the suggestion, and maybe it would be a fun little project. I certainly have enough bent stainless trim in my life.
What you just said, right? There's so many things that you'll take for granted because you've been doing it your whole life, and you think, oh, well, everybody knows this. And the truth is, the people who watch, a lot of the people who watch our channels have never touched this stuff. They're new to it, or they've been around for a long time, but they actually haven't gone that far as to try to restore a piece of stainless. And the things we take for granted, they're starving for it. This is the knowledge that they really want.
Yeah, I guess there's, and again, but it goes back into the thing of, now you're telling people how to do something, and so a lot of, like, I would just show the dent and then I would show it finished, and I'm like, there. But that way nobody can say I did it wrong, right?
Yes, they'll let them tell you that you're doing it wrong, but you're not showing them how to do something. You're showing them the way you do.
Well, and that's fair enough, especially, I mean, well, you know, anything to do with working on cars at any levels, there's 10 different ways to do it. And the people who do it differently than you cannot wait to tell you. So a lot of times I'm just like, well, here's what it looks like when it's done. And if it looks good, then who's to say I did it wrong? Because in the end, it's just done. So but I'm happy to, you know, to do a little more of that.
In Nasty Bastard Live, I like the Coldwarmotors is not mainstream trash. Only guys have passion for old cars and dirty hands. Mine are clean today. Well, kind of clean.
Mine are clean because I was steam cleaning an engine block earlier.
I just rode around and I played with dogs and rode around motorcycles all day, so I'm kind of.
Oh, you guys got motorcycle season already.
Oh yeah. And well, I'm setting up a shop completely separate from this.
Oh, the cycle shop.
Only Sportsters.
You touched on the Sportster shop, yeah.
I've been buying bikes, and I've been buying parts stashes, and.
Are you going to sell bikes, fixed bikes, or sell parts, or wreck them, or what? All the above?
Everything
all around
to do with the world of Sportsters.
What are you going to call it?
Don't really have a name for it yet.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get some viewer suggestions. Sportster Central.
I don't know. I'm gearing up. I'm gearing up. You know.
Yeah.
But it's something I've been actively working on. It's taken my head away from the channel a little bit. But I think down the road it's going to pay some dividends.
Oh,
but,
sure.
You know, I have 3 of my own, right, and then everything else is just.
Oh, okay.
Over there. How many bikes can you fit in your attic? A lot. So okay, like you said, we promised that we would answer questions and hang with the viewers.
There's a good question here about the M22 Muncie.
Well, before we get to that, this first brand's bankruptcy. What are your thoughts on this?
Sorry, I'm not really up on it. Who's bankrupt?
Ooh.
First Brands. Is
First
that a
Brands.
major aftermarket manufacturer?
A1 Cardone, Trico, all of the brands that we typically, you need like a common part, you need a water pump, or you need
Yeah. Okay.
whatever else be. All
Yeah.
these little companies are bought up by private equity firm has gone tits up, and now evidently the auto parts store shelves are starting to get bare.
Well, I think there's not any political will to change it. Like the people, without getting too far into it, but there, you see it in Europe where if people are still buying car or parts to fix 10-year-old cars, they'll just make it illegal. Like they're just ruthless there. And I think if these big aftermarket manufacturers are going to go bankrupt and there's not going to be the political will to save them, but it's just a reflection of the cars themselves, which are neither worth repairing nor repairable. Like you can take apart and change the clutch in a 79 Chevy C10. Even a person with a $19 socket set can do that in a weekend. But these new cars,
okay, but
you want it to, you're not taking apart a sequential 10-speed gearbox. And so
but wait a second.
that's repairable.
Like the example you just brought up about the like changing a clutch, one of the brands that's involved in this is Resistors. So
yeah, that's huge, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
That's huge, and I mean, this could
cause a real problem for us.
Yeah, and
it's
going to force people who really want to stay out of the new car racket to become that much more industrious. Like, it's not a big leap for a guy like me or you to buy a couple of more tools and be able to rebuild our own water pumps instead of buying water pumps. There's still a place in town here that relines brake shoes. All my weirdo French shit, I can't buy brake shoes anyway. So I've already kind of got that mindset. I have a lathe and a milling machine, my cylinder head machine. So I already kind of have. So I guess that's why when these things happens, I don't really notice, because I'm only working on 50-year-old cars anyway. And I'm already doing my own heads and water pumps and brake relinings and stuff. So maybe that's why that missed me, but I'm sure it's coming for everything. And the whole idea is to force everybody into the payment plan scheme and to get people onto buses and whatever other ideas they have for us. But
you've got to become more industrious.
I think it's just going to polarize further the us and them kind of thing. Like, it doesn't bother me personally because I had nothing invested in that kind of thing anyway. Like, as I say, it's not a big leap for me to start rebuilding my own water pumps, and I already do I haven't bought a starter in 30 years. I haven't bought an alternator or a generator.
No, I get that, but here, like for instance, Driveway of Misfits is saying Centric is involved too. So now you're talking easily available brake hoses, rebuild kits if you want to be.
And there are going to be things that sooner or later, as you pointed out, rubber hoses. Like, I'm not making my own tires. What do we do when they stop selling tires? And it sounds ridiculous, but it's not that far beyond what's already happening.
Zero is saying, boss, if it's really only us buying parts, that has to be reflective in overall sales. The numbers can't lie. Some hopefully aftermarket will be forced to keep making some shit. The aftermarket is using a lot of these companies as suppliers. Like for instance, Centric is exactly a perfect example, because rebuild kits for everything, master cylinders, wheel cylinders, slave cylinders, clutch cylinders, all of those parts come through Centric. So it's like, who's going to mold this rubber? You know what I mean?
And if you think about an auto parts store or an auto parts operation, even if you're making or selling auto parts 50 years ago or whatever, a generation or two ago, if you sold parts for 4 different engines, you could run a store, right? And if you had a shop and you made parts for 4 different engines, you could keep that business viable. But now none of that is true. You need, like, there are no, Evergreen engine off setups. Like, you could buy small block Chevy. I went to the wrecking yard and took rocker arms off of an 86 Trans Am, and they're going on a 59 Chevy 283. They're exactly the same. Even if I'd had to buy them new, which I didn't, but if I'd had to, that's a viable part. You can keep that on the shelf, and you can run a warehouse and actually expect to sell X number of that. And that's not really true anymore either, as it gets more fragmented. And dealers take more, to the point where they'll void your warranty if you're not getting your oil change there. And all of this stuff is all kind of bottlenecking everything down to, here's what they want, and then there's the rest of it. Well, we don't care about you, and if we keep our heads down, we can get around it. But it's going to be hard for the people who are kind of in the middle, who don't really want to play that game, but the game it's getting harder and harder to not. And this is
the thing is, there's a lot of people, normies. There's a lot of normies now that have been caught in this new car loop over the last several years. And they're realizing, because now the general consensus, and this is like the first time in my life that I see this, the general consensus is that old cars were better.
That's a sea change. And it's nice to see that.
Yep. And I think over the next couple of years, as more and more people get flushed out where they realize, oh my God, I'm screwed. I owe $38,000. You know what I mean? I'm upside down on this thing. It needs $7,000 worth of repair. And I think they're all realizing that, yes, okay, we need to go back and buy stuff from like 1990 or 2000, early 2000s.
Yep.
And the status seekers are going to go back to our era of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to have an old car. I'm going to have this.
Well, and you could say they were front running that by getting rid of as many of those repairable, reliable cars as they could before people figured out that those were the good cars.
Yep.
The cash for clunkers thing was only there to decimate the used car market. They dressed it up in some green rainbow bullshit, but that was only there to make sure that people had no choice but to go buy a new car. And now, half a generation later, people are figuring out, and you know what the new cars are? They're no good. And they're like, I wish I had my 87 Volvo. Oh, it's too bad, because the guy who sold it to turned it in for cash for clunkers, and it's gone, and it's never coming back.
But just the same, there are still millions of raw project cars scattered through the landscape.
Yep.
So like there's no shortage. It took the easy pickings off used car lots, but there's still an uncountable number of potential projects out there, as well as retrofitting more contemporary cars. I mean, you or I could take a Tesla and swap a small block Chevy into it if need be. You know what I mean? And I think that's going to be another aspect of the industry as we go forward.
Well, and at the end of the day, and I'm doing it here, you can literally build a car out of thin air. Like,
yes.
I'm building my Roadster is made out of pieces of flat steel and 2x4 rectangular tubing. And like, they're never going to be able to say you can't have a car because the technology exists to make one.
Yes.
So, but somewhere in the middle, it's just, and none of this is designed to happen overnight. It's all, as you obviously know, this is all a very boil the frog kind of situation. And it's not just the cars. The houses are shit. The appliances are shit. The lawnmowers are shit. Everything is throwaway. And eventually they get you to throw it away. And then they say, oh yeah, well, we don't have any more of that. So it's just gone forever.
The nice thing about, or at least one of the bright spots in the battle, is that it looks like we beat them back on the electric cars.
Yes, yeah.
They were, and it's not that obviously we would still have our toys, the things that we play with, if the vast majority of the population started driving electric cars. it would hurt us in terms of availability and quality of fuel, oil, just the kind of basics that antifreeze, if the majority of the cars on the road are electric, well, then we're going to pay $60 a gallon for antifreeze.
Yeah.
So it's like we beat them back on that, and I think that's a major step in the right direction. But that doesn't stop the fact that nothing lasts.
But if they can't convince you with the carrot to buy a modern electric car, they'll convince you with the stick, and that is your water pump is $7,000, and there's a internal combustion. They already subsidize electric cars, even though they're a zero-sum thing, right? I just call them coal-powered cars because that's where the electricity comes from.
Yep.
The whole thing was a con, but everything is a con, right? Like the whole racket it's universal. So,
well, okay.
And the cars are just one little part of waking up and understanding that.
Without going down all of those rabbit holes, yes, we live in the age of scam and everything is bullshit. Everything is bullshit. But that's besides the point. Zero is saying something interesting here. This is very good. This plays out to what we were talking about. We have an ad for Firestone Service Center. I guess they played on this channel now, basically saying they're here to keep your old cars running. They show an early 2000 era Pontiac GP in the ad. Grand Prix. See?
Yeah, that's nice.
The world is moving in our direction. So a little bit of time,
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to see it. And I think, but even in Orwell's famous novel, there was the people that lived outside the wall. And, I think what they missed is that it's not that bad out here.
No.
But you have to be self-sufficient, reasonably capable of taking care of yourself, and worth knowing. And those are things that have been systematically disincentivized for a generation or two now. Somebody asked if my Fraser will be the last car on Earth. God willing, buddy.
Kim says it'll be 3 lifetimes before the oil runs dry. Try again. It'll be eternally before the oil runs dry. Oil is the second most abundant liquid on the planet, and the planet makes it just as fast as we can burn it. All right, so let's hear you dive through the comments, and let's get to talking with our peoples.
Yeah, you bet. Well, let's see. I'll just I'm sorry guys, I don't know how to highlight whatever I
just call it out.
Abel for asked Tony, did you read up on the John Deere lame settlement? In 10 years they could close the right to repair their equipment once again.
I didn't see that.
Okay.
I see it right there.
My brother-in-law is a farmer and buys gigantic amounts of John Deere equipment, or at least he used to, and then he figured the same thing that we're figuring with the cars on put 2 zeros on the cost of everything, but he realized that this machine was also pretty good 10 years ago, and he's like, I'll just buy that one, and he bought one of those old 1980s V8 diesel machine, the 8600 or whatever. It's awesome, right? And it just sounds amazing. And they're shooting themselves in the foot, a lot of these companies, because if you want to try and bullshit somebody, you shouldn't practice on farmers. Right? You can't bullshit people that knew how to weld when they were 4. Right. And that's why I've had gigantic respect for farmers. They were, they're doing their own clutches and brakes and stuff before they milk the cows. Like, these guys can do everything. And so they picked a very bad demographic to practice their bullshit on, I think.
It shows you the lack of respect or recognition that farmers get, shows you just how screwed up a culture or society we have. They should be the most
Yeah, they should be.
people. They should be
at the top of the pole because everybody starves without them.
Right. Without them,
they disrespect them, and they disrespect them with this stuff. And you know, but if you look at the top, I mean, I don't know, but I bet if we went into the very top boardroom at John Deere there, how many farmers do you think are sitting around that table?
Zero.
I bet it's that many. And
Zero.
There's your problem. You know, like Henry Ford made his own cars from scratch in his garage, and he had the right to run his company, and he ran it the way he wanted, but it was his company. But these guys, and it's not just John Deere, it's General Motors, it's run by accountants and lawyers. All of them are, and not just automobile. Just about everything now is run from the point of view of accountants and what can we get away with. And you know, the system is ripe for a return to common sense, but we'll see if it happens in our lifetime.
I think that the reset is a lot closer than people think. And if I had to bet on it, I would say not only this year, we're going to see some really unprecedented things, but I would go so far as to say over the next several weeks. And I think if I had to pull a number out, if I had to make I hate to make predictions, but
come on, everybody loves it.
I've been pretty good so far.
Yeah.
I think that July 4th of this year is going to be extremely significant. And I can't really specify what that is because it's several different things that could happen, either individually or together. But I think that the 4th is going to be very significant. Mm-hmm. I think the weeks leading up to it, like June, is going to be freaking nuts. Like if I would try to have all of my ducks in a row by June.
Mm-hmm. That's fair play. So, short of financial advice. Oh, Dr. Art is here. Cheers, buddy.
What's happening, Dr. Art?
Kind. And you know, I think if we were thinking about vehicles, and you already know this, I think you're fixed up, is Honda Cubs, 100cc stuff. They can't stop you when you can get 110 miles to the gallon. And I've said for years now, when gas hits $20 a gallon or whatever, that's what it'll take for people to start understanding the situation they're in.
Well, see, now that's one of the reasons why I'm getting into the bike thing now. And I'm focusing on Sportsters because A, I love the bike, so that's easy. But B, the parts are so interchangeable and the bikes are so easy to work on and they're so common and there's such aftermarket support.
Right, they're the motorcycle equivalent of the small block Chev.
Of the Model T.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're the small block, they're the motorcycle equivalent of the Model T. And I'm thinking that as the situation that we're in now further devolves, all right? Devo was way ahead of the game. As the situation that we're in, now, are we not men?
We are Devo.
They were great, man. I forgot how amazing they actually were. You know,
and ahead of the curve.
So I think that people are going to start looking. I was originally going to start buying import scooters. I figured, okay, I'll buy a container full of scooters and get set up in that direction. But I'm thinking that people are going to want a next step up. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm gearing up to do, you know, the motorcycle for several reasons. But that's one of the motivating factors in trying to get it done now. I want to be established as people say, hey, I can't afford to have 4 cars in my family. I need 1 car and 2 bikes, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Porsche Racer.
Porsche Racer. Cheers, buddy.
Thank you for the super chat.
Get a case of beer.
Yeah,
that would get almost 2 cases of beer. Okay, see you guys later.
Well, I'm hearing you guys go down rabbit holes, huh?
Oh, we won't go down too many.
You know, on Sunday night, we usually end up going down like many rabbit holes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll go.
What do
My channel's already in enough fucking trouble.
What do you make of this? The rocket that they just sent to make laps around the moon.
Well, I guess. I mean, again, I don't really follow it. I don't really. I mean, all they proved is that 50 years later we remembered how to do it. I don't really. I mean, it was funny because there's a lot of talk about whether the moon landings and such were fake, but it's weird because I was born in 1969, so of course that was a big deal, right? And so I kind of grew up. And actually, I should get the book. Hey, Bun. Yeah. Do you know where my Dr. Seuss about the moon book is? It's on the shelf there. I just wanted to, in case I haven't showed you this. When I was a kid, the moon landing thing, when you're 4 or 5 years old, that was like, that was everywhere.
I was 7. I watched it.
Oh, yeah, space time, right? And there was all this. Everybody's gonna be living on the moon. You'll have a moon bus, and here it is. Thank you. This here, and I want to find the people who write this and kick them in the shins. This was called "You Will Go to the Moon." And when I was 5 years old, I was like, I can't believe I have to wait another 20 years to go to the moon. I was so mad. And I'm like, oh, man, why are we on the moon now? Everybody's floating around. Oh, my God, it's going to be amazing. Look at, we're going to the moon. And you know what happened? I got old, and it should have been called "You Will Go to the Store." Because where's my and so this book kind of made me bitter as a young man, and it never went away. And so when I found this book somewhere in a shop or whatever, I was like, there's that stupid book, I'm buying it. And so I always keep this book to remind me that you will be lied to relentlessly.
I remember very distinctly because they did it up until like 72, and I was 10 at that point. And I remember very distinctly saying to myself, because it didn't occur to me that it was faked, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I remember saying to myself, why are they launching this thing and doing all this stuff in Florida, but mission control is in Texas? This doesn't really make much sense. Wouldn't you have the people who are, running this thing actually there where it's running, and
I get. Here's my thing with it being faked. If you were going to fake it, why not just fake it once? Why would they keep faking it and risking getting caught? Like, that's why,
because they were raking in huge money.
You think it was a money thing?
Sure. Well, you think about it, okay? How many?
Look how many people bought this stupid book.
How much money did the government, fork over to build? Or supposedly, how much money did the government fork over? Or how much did NASA? It's
true. They had a lot of money. Definitely, the motivation was there. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it costs you like $10 million to like fake this thing, and you're going to bring in $200 million for actually doing it, well, yeah, this is
sure.
Let's go to the moon every week.
Here's the thing is, and people will say, oh, you guys, you don't believe anything. Well, let's consider the precedents. Have we been lied to systematically about the last 100 years? Pretty much. So, I mean, even the most absurd things, you have to say, well, they've lied about everything else.
Right.
So, and so eventually people like me, for instance, I'm just not even going to listen. Whether it's true, I don't even care, because it's, I'm not getting to go to the moon, so I'm already mad. So to hell with it.
So I see it one of two ways, right? Either they're trying to pull it off again and doing it very, very badly, or it's some way of telling people who are aware, yes, this is all bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, no, we never went before. Clearly, this is CGI. Clearly, this is silliness. You know what I mean? It's just like when they show the astronauts right after they got out, and it's like you would think, okay, you just blew through the atmosphere at 25,000 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
And you had these little drag chutes slow you down so that you just been plopped in the water, okay? And they get out, and you would think they're going to be like,
Yeah, they'd be pretty nervous. Yeah,
and they get out and they're like,
having a cocktail, eh? Got the in-flight magazine, some cigarettes. Well, I've learned that now. Oh, OG Pav DH had a good one here. Anybody that quotes Yuri Bezmenov is my friend. Thank you.
Shower people to truth and they will not listen. Yes.
Not after they have been systematically brainwashed for an entire generation or two. So
it's been more than a generation.
Right. And we've reached a time in history where what divorce lawyers call irreconcilable differences, where you used to have people who would vote one way or another way and who, but they would all be neighbors and they all went to the same church or they all had worked in the same office or whatever. And it was fine. But now we have, these are not like small, these are completely different realities that people live in. And that is a lot different. And that is something that has happened in the last 20 years.
Where I remember very distinctly back in the 70s, early 70s, where so I grew up on a block on Staten Island that was very populated, a lot of people on that block. And I remember very distinctly election days, because the school was right down the block. So everybody would walk right over to the school, vote, and they would come back. And then they would all sit together outside, on porches and stuff like that, and wait for the results. And there was no like bedlam. It was just like, at the end of the night, they'd let out some winner, and half the block would go yay, and the other half of the block would go boo, and then they'd have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and everybody would go back to work, and they were still friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that today? It's just
no, but because you can't disagree with somebody now without having dismantling their entire worldview. Like you can't, anyway, it's a discussion I've had a few times, and but all of it, including YouTube, is a part of a gigantic control system. So I try not to be part of it. You're part of YouTube, which in itself is something that was started as an alternative to the control system, and of course was bought by the people.
Okay,
who
now
it was intended to subvert.
Here's something that I pay very close attention to, because I work for the beast, right? YouTube started out as free range, okay? Then when the whole pandemic and all that bullshit happened, actually before that, you had the 2016 election, and then you had the craziness around that, and so all of a sudden everything was censored. Okay, there were words you couldn't say. There were channels that were disappearing. There were people that were just disappearing. It was really rough. And even during the course of doing a video that wasn't related, you had to be careful with certain words, because the algorithm would pick up those words and think that you were talking forbidden things, and you would get like buried. Okay. They wouldn't kill your channel because you accidentally said pandemic or something like that. Okay, but
ruthlessly mocked the whole thing, and my channel has been buried since then.
Okay, but now if you pay attention, okay, there's free talk about everything. Something has.
Oh, now that it doesn't matter, yeah.
No, it's not just something has changed in the last year. Okay, in the last year or so, there were topics that were taboo, forbidden. You can't even think about this stuff if you're making YouTube. And all of a sudden, people are talking about all of these things very openly. Something is changing. Something is changing. That's all I have to say about that. I think it's going in the right direction.
Abeld 4008 had a funny one there. It said, "Can you do a few videos of you reading 1984 to Frankers before bedtime?" Yes, thank you. I'd love to. Yeah.
I didn't see
I
that.
actually bought that book for my nieces for Christmas, and I said, "Read this before it's illegal to read." And they're like, "Okay, crazy uncle."
I'm scrolling through.
Yeah, of course.
This way, that guy's still censored because you've got the, you know, you're the next level beyond, you know, Bob Lazar.
Wasn't hobo wrestling popular in early YouTube? I must have missed out. Maybe it was. There was a lot of things that were popular.
Yeah, there was dwarf tossing and stuff like
that. Isn't it funny how when you gave people a platform for this? Do you remember probably my favorite YouTube video? And probably I think the first one I watched, and I must have watched it 100 times, insane Buick LeSabre jump.
No, what was that?
It's just some kid and his mom's Buick, like a 79 LeSabre, and they come down this hill, and there's a kind of a bump in the hill, and he launches this LeSabre, like hubcaps, nice car, and probably gets 150 feet of airtime with this thing, and it comes down, and it just touches the back bumper, and some sparks come out, and he just gathers it up just enough to not die. And it's just like a bone stock LeSabre, nice, clean, quiet, mufflers on it, vinyl top. And his friends are just losing it because I don't think they expected Billy to really have the balls. But they had like a walkie-talkie, and he's like, go, it's clear. And he's phoning his friend, and this LeSabre comes over the jump. And anybody in the comments, you guys, if you're alive, right there, he says, gray two-door LeSabre. Yeah. Anyway, still it was one of the first YouTube videos because of course I heard about this YouTube, and I was like, first thing on the thing is like jumping your grandma's car. I typed it in or whatever, and sure enough, it is one of the coolest. And I think it was still on a tape, like it was recorded on a VHS or a video recording thing, you know, before digital. So it might have been something that this guy and his friends filmed back in the 90s, and they decided to load it up on YouTube. But like for a bone stock grandma car, that thing got some air. It was amazing.
I was introduced to YouTube with like Tourette's guy and Charlie the Unicorn. I had the coffee houses at the time.
There.
And it was before
Louis says it's still up, 17-year-old upload. Yeah. So it was one of the first ones I saw anyway. Pretty awesome. And then I was like, I could get behind this. And yeah, but there was a big purge of a lot of the political stuff around 2017.
Yeah. But like I said,
what better way to
the video is 4.2 million views.
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah. Oh well. I think a good one, definitely a good one.
David's Farm. What was David's Farm?
That was a fellow in Canada that was kind of doing stuff with him and his friends. They were just jumping old junkers and doing burnouts. It was just, what do they call it? Just that kind of thing. He had a big farm, and they would just take random old heaps. He must have been buying them at auction, and they would just do huge jumps in them until they were wrecked or whatever. But that was a very popular channel for a few years there.
Yeah, there was Uncle Rob. I watched a lot of that. Well, actually, I stole a lot of stuff from Uncle Rob. And Uncle Tony actually came from.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I thought that was a personal thing.
No, you know what happened? I was in the magazine business, right? And so I says, years ago, and I says, I'm going to do video because that's the wave of the future. And I still had my shop, Mid-South Mopars. I was busy. And I told Kathy, I says, let's start doing videos. Let's start doing, YouTube. So I attempted to make a video, and it had to do with, what was it? We were talking about rod ratio. I think it was rod ratio. Okay, because I was working on, I was doing a stroker motor at the time for one of my customers, and I said, "Oh yeah, let's talk about rod ratio. This is great." So I was using a mop handle and a bucket to illustrate leverage. Okay, like as it would apply in the engine, and we shot that like the whole. It was supposed to be like 2 minutes, and we ended up the whole day because I couldn't speak more than 2 words. It was freaking horrible, right? And I had given up. I'm like, forget it. And we tried a couple of things. I said, I can't talk to a camera. It's just not in my DNA to do this. So I'm watching Uncle Rob. Okay. So are you familiar with this guy?
No.
His thing was he would always end whatever work he was doing, whatever task he was doing, with dousing it with gasoline and lighting it. Okay, so he would be like, "Today I'm going to show you how to smoke a whole pack of cigarettes. First, take the cigarettes, then take your lighter,
Yeah.
then take your gasoline, douse the cigarettes, light it." So he would do like a 2-minute video, and it was all, he'd speak a sentence, and he'd speak a sentence, and then
okay, yeah.
I could do that. So the first few videos that we did, that we actually published, was me doing exactly that. I would speak a sentence, and that would be a whole scene. And I would speak another sentence, and that would be a whole scene. And I said, well, I'm just going to, Uncle Rob, I'll just be Uncle Tony. And so I robbed that idea.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember one of the first things that was on YouTube was a very successful channel called Will It Blend? Where this guy, Will It Blend? And it was a guy with one of those old kitchen-made Mixmaster things.
Okay.
Just take anything in there and hit it and see if it would blend up into a shake or whatever.
That's great.
Yeah, so he would blend like iPhones, anything, right? He would just destroy stuff. And it was really funny. It was really successful. And I thought, so that's where I got the idea for Will It Run. And I thought, I'm going to make a show called Will It Run, because I had all these dead cars. And I was like, I bet you we could get any of these things to run with just, knock them loose, give them a bit of a tune-up. They don't have to go anywhere. It's not called Can I Drive It to the Store? But that's where the idea of Will It Run came from, is from Will It Blend, because I thought if two of the key words in the title are the same as Will It Blend, which gets 3 million views even 20 years ago, I thought, well, that's where Will It Run came from. And then people just liberated that. But that was actually the name of my show. And the channel was called Coldwarmotors, and the show was called Will It Run. But once enough people ripped it off, I was like, well, I guess I can't call it that anymore, because everybody just thinks that I stole it from some more popular channel now. So I quit doing that.
People have made a lot of money with Will It Run.
Yeah, well, if you check the oldest Will It Run video, my 1951 Hudson.
Hey, I put the 5-liter Mustang on the map. So.
Yeah, that was, the guy made the blenders. Oh, okay, there we go. So.
Oh, so the guy, he was a blender manufacturer, and he was just.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought he just used old kitchen maids or whatever. Okay. But yeah, he would put rocks in them and just anything. Yeah. But that was a very popular early channel. So.
Joker, isn't that what Vice draw? Yes, that's exactly what he does.
Yeah. Where do you think you got the? Well, I'm not saying that nobody else had the idea, but.
No, there were so many people that came after you that were doing that. He was more following Junkyard Digs, which still gets really good views. They get fantastic views. But now you talk about a guy who's raking in the bucks. Like, I know what he makes, not because he told me what he makes, but because we're in the same business, and I know what.
Yeah, you can extrapolate for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and this guy is making like serious bank. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars a month.
Oh yeah. He's okay. Yeah, we had.
Okay, well, Zero.
Oh, is that the LeSabre jump? Thanks, Fubar. Yeah.
Okay, so Fubar put up the link to the jump, and Zero has got The original Will It Run.
One of them, probably. Yeah, I don't know. But, and Ant D 1672 pointed out, I did not know this until years later, but I typed it into Google. Will It Run is the name of a very famous P-51 Mustang.
Wow. Okay.
And I think that on the plane it's all one word, but that is the name of a very famous airplane that I had no idea, that I had never heard of when I came up with that. But I took it from Will It Blend.
Well, it's all just that's just
in the end, yeah.
Yes.
And so that's cool. Yes, they're very good to point out the Will It Run Mustang.
Now, see if you see anything in there you want to. I'm just going to answer this real quick. Thunderbird. Sure. Tony, when you had your parts business, what percentage were you able to sell local versus what you had to ship approximately? No local sales. It would be silly to try to do local sales. I mean, I was there, but I never bothered advertising. The money was off the forums. For anybody's only specifically. That treated me very, very well. Let's see, what do we got here?
I'm just gonna check.
Talking about Zero Lash, Blendtec blenders. Oh, I've seen the Hammer Bammers. We love the 4th of July Alaska cliff jumps. Have you seen that?
Yes. Yes, Hammer Bammers is sitting in the other room here.
Oh, okay. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then I saw them jump an XJ.
You know what was cool is when they put the cameras in the cars too.
Yeah.
And you get to kind of like pretend. You're like, man, that would hurt, eh? But yeah, that's really fun. All I keep thinking is like, somebody's got to clean this shit up, eh? Drag it. There's just the amount of stuff that must be all over that field. Pretty awesome, though.
Yeah, it's right. 1320 covers the Alaska car jump.
Yeah, that is a really fun thing.
Firefly saying, moderators to the rescue. We got the best. These guys are on top of it. They're always, coming up with the links to the videos and channels and everything else.
I have a fun question for you because you're into both. Would you say that more car guys are also bike guys, or would you say that more bike guys are also car guys?
More car guys would be bike guys. Bike guys.
Yeah, that's been my experience. They're not necessarily car guys. A lot of bike guys will just have like a really lame car and then an amazing motorcycle collection. They almost think that cars are not worth it. They're not worthy. Cars are just.
Well, now that I'm starting to like network my way back into the local motorcycle world. So back when I was in New York, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, and really all I was doing was motorcycles at the time. After I got out of Nitro, I was like, so I just did motorcycles, and we had a great motorcycle culture. Okay, and this is in New York City, which everything is really bad there, except we had a great motorcycle culture. And what I'm seeing now that I'm starting to show up at bike nights and stuff like that around here locally is that I'm going to say half, if not better, of the bike guys around here are using their bikes as accessories. They're not really motorcycle people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's always been that to an extent. Okay, there's always been that to an extent, but it seems more prevalent now. Where they're just getting they're getting into bikes just so that they have a thing. They're not necessarily motorcycle people.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I
think it's different with antique bikes, but it's also different with antique cars.
Yes, antique.
I'm not really very up to speed on the motorcycle culture, although I have lots of motorcycles. But I find the antique bike guys, the ones that I've met, a lot of them they're very do it yourself,
Yes.
and they're you know, and to me, the measure of somebody's enthusiasm is like, are you ruining your life for this? And the best of them are, you know, these are guys that they could do anything. They usually have enough money to retire and do anything they want with their lives, and they scrounge around in dirty old piles of crap looking for some particular bolt from some pre-war Italian 200cc thing, and they're just like that. That is like making their day to find, you know, and that's what I really like. Is you don't need this, you know, and you're just letting, you know, they've got 75 motorcycles and they can't, you know, I like the obsessiveness of it. I really, and I guess maybe because I identify with it, but I'm like, yes, I can trust this person. This person he's okay, because this person is never going to say, why do you have so many cars? Because he knows, he's like, he's got that many cars because the same reason I got 75 motorcycles. And so I find those people, and maybe the difference is that it's the classic, whatever it is. Maybe people who collect classic phonograph players are as obsessive as we are with cars. I think maybe it's that. Maybe it's just the difficulty of it.
I just see more of the car people, like you go to a local car meet, and they're more involved, right? Where you go to the bike meets, and it's almost like I said, they're walking around and they're just styling. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just here, but you don't see that type of person who says, yeah, well, I got to swap the tires on my bike. You know, they're okay. I have to drop my bike off to get the tire swapped. You know, like these guys are not changing fork seals. They're not changing chains. They're not swapping sprockets around and stuff like that. They're going and buying the latest, whatever costume they wear. The sport bike guys get the gear, and the cruiser guys get the vests and patches and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's like they're just accessorizing their lives with motorcycles. Last night I watched On Any Sunday again. How many times have you seen that?
Oh, I've seen it a couple times.
Just a couple?
Yeah, I haven't seen it hundreds of times. No, but
I've seen it hundreds of times. You have to. I need to watch that to just remind myself that yes, there's, you know, maybe it's part of the past, but look, there's that one line that Steve McQueen says, right? So they stick a microphone in his face after a race, and he says, you know, just when I think the world is all bad, I see people out having fun on motorcycles, and you got to take another look. So it's like, yes, you know, this is what it's all about. But you don't see those people out at motorcycle meets, anymore.
Well, I think not. But if you go to the vintage motorcycle people, I mean, I don't know very many vintage bike guys who don't work on their own stuff.
Yes.
And a lot of them they'll buy the machinery to work on their own stuff. Like, it starts with buying an old bike, and then you're like, oh, well, now I need a lathe, and now I need, you know, now I need all the stuff to make this happen. And the most dedicated of them will actually, they'll learn 4 other trades because they got to fix up this, you know, Benelli or whatever they're working on. And some terrific people.
Have you seen the Wheels Through Time channel? What the hell's the name of it? Matt Walksler. He's got a museum called Wheels Through Time.
Okay, I think I've seen some. I definitely recognize the name.
Yeah, well, his father Dale originally had a show on was it Velocity, and then later on Motor Trend.
Okay,
he died. He passed away. Great channel, like really interesting guy. He was just totally absorbed in vintage motorcycle culture.
Okay,
and his son has taken over the museum. And what the hell's the name of the channel? The museum is called Wheels Through Time. I can't think of what the name of the channel is. But you want to talk about something who's just completely and utterly absorbed in vintage machinery culture, and is literally, he's living the dream, like, because he's surrounded by hundreds of you know, turn of the century and you know, pre-World War I motorcycles. Yeah, it's just amazing.
sorry, we did get a super chat from official Veronin, and it looks like a question that I cannot answer.
I'm going to try to answer it. Thank you, official Veronin. 01 Expedition. Okay. We're talking about switching gears. Replaced all e-brake cables with OEM. Unable to connect the front cable to the rear. About 6 inches short. Is it the pedal system? Oh my God. Okay. Ooh. Is the e-brake cable on that a ratcheting cable? So in other words, like, is it that when you step on the pedal?
The Fords had that. Remember that in the Fox bodies. There's a ratchet under the dash that keeps tight, and keeps shortening the cable to compensate for wear.
Yeah, official.
That would be where I would start.
Yeah, you've got to go to the source, the pedal. I'm sure there's a pedal in an Expedition, and there's going to be a ratcheting mechanism that takes.
Or am I thinking of the clutch cable? Sorry, remember the clutch cable on those Fox bodies was a ratchet too, wasn't it?
The clutch, the clutch cable, you would adjust the clutch by pushing the clutch pedal to the floor and then sidestepping it, and it would come up and it would slam up. If there was any slack, it would.
So there was some kind of a ratcheting tightening system there.
Yes, and there's also a ratcheting tightening deal on the Expedition, or should be. But this is without knowing those vehicles, right?
6 inches short is short, though.
That's really short. But you don't know how many times it ratcheted.
Yeah,
because it's the cable's going to be kind of on a spool. So every time it ratchets, it's just going to pull cable onto the spool. So you have to find the source, right, and release it there.
Yeah.
And that should do it. 6 inches is a lot. Are you sure you got the right cables? Did you match them up with the old ones?
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't be more specific. Maybe somebody in the chat knows that setup better. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Zero is saying what's in the barn was Dale's show, and it was great. You know what really made me a fan of him, right? It was I caught this, like, I was in the middle of doing something else, right? And this was on the TV, and I'm walking past it. They had this event once a year where they would start every single motorcycle in the museum. So you get a picture of this. There's like hundreds of freaking motorcycles, okay? And they pride themselves on the fact that they're all ready to start all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So once a year they had this event where it would be a crowd follow him through the museum, and he would just go from bike to bike, and 3-4 kicks, get the thing running, rev the engine, shut it off, then get off, run over to the next bike. And he was an older guy. He was like my age, like 60,
Yeah.
Or thereabouts. And
he actually
like a marathon through this whole thing. He had every single motorcycle running. And I was like, this guy is hardcore.
That's crazy. That's a lot of dedication.
Yes. And that's when I started watching the channel, or watching his show. And then later on, he passed away and his son Matt took over. And I never miss an episode. I never miss one of his videos. They're just always so good. I'm not familiar with those bikes. I'm not really interested in those bikes per se, but the dedication, this guy's dedication and knowledge is so, it's magnetic. And so I just watch and I learn.
Another one you've probably seen, and Thomas T596 has pointed out, Jonathan W is in North Carolina, and he's been on YouTube for 20 years as well. And I've actually communicated with him on a couple of our projects, and he's started salvaging steam engines out of the trees and rebuilding them. That guy is hardcore. Like big stationary steam engine, like factory engines and stuff. And that guy, he runs a tow truck during the day, and as a hobby, he is restoring all of these stationary and tractors, and he's just a fantastic channel. Doesn't really put out a lot of videos. Doesn't, you can tell he's not like a YouTuber, so to speak. he's a fellow with an amazing hobby who decides that he will let us have a look now and then. And his collection and his ambition level is massive.
Well, along those lines, if any of you guys who are interested in steam locomotives and like restorations and stuff like that, there's 2 separate channels. I came across them, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and I binge watched both of them for a couple of days, and I haven't been back for any updates. But both of these guys are restoring Davenports. So a Davenport was a little switching engine. It was like an industrial switching engine, an old 4.0, a tanker, okay? And evidently these things are around, and they're small enough that they're small enough and manageable enough that you could actually bring one to your house and go through it. And there are 2 guys that are doing full-on restoration. Excuse me, full-on restorations on these Davenports, and they're regular people. It's like they're like us. And it's like, well, instead of restoring this Buick, I'm going to restore this friggin' steam locomotive.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, they're. I like to watch that stuff sometimes so that my stuff seems easier.
Right, exactly.
Watching guys, the Kermit Weeks channel where he's restoring Yonkers 87s and stuff. Like if you're restoring World War II transport planes, like suddenly my alternator is not really looking like a very daunting job. And so it's fun, and just to manage a restoration like that, not to even actually have to do it, but just to manage the resources that it would take to make something like that fly again is just requires a level of commitment and understanding that is beyond 99% of people. And so that guy is really fun to watch too. And he's so genuine. He's just like a kid still. Why are you doing it? He just loves the hell out of airplanes. And, I think that's really, really cool. There's so much good stuff out there.
There really is. You got to go looking for it. It's kind of buried. It's all in the niches. One of the best videos, one of the best YouTube videos I've ever. When I say best, I mean in terms of wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. There's a channel called Hyce, Hyce, and I've actually talked to him a while back. He's got a Firebird in addition to. This guy, he's completely eat up at steam locomotives, and he works for a short line railroad, and he maintains and he operates steam locomotives, and he's done a couple of episodes that were really standouts. One of them was he traveled to was it Poland or Uzbekistan or someplace where they're still running mainline steam, and he was getting videos of this thing, and they're moving a locomotive around, if they're filling a water tank, whatever they're doing, and they caught him taking pictures. So he goes over and starts chatting with them, and he says, I didn't speak the same language, but he's like, yeah, I run one of these things back in the States, and they made him get up in the cab, and he ran their locomotive, and I thought that was great.
Wow.
But one of the bus videos I've ever seen was he did a tour of a locomotive tender, which is something you look at and you're like, well, it's a freaking tender. It carries water, it carries coal. All right, what else is there? No, they're incredibly complex in the way that they're designed and everything else. And he climbs down into a tender, and he's showing you how the coal bunker is built and how the water tank is, and it's braced this way, so when the train goes this way, the water goes that way, and blah blah blah. It was great. It was one of the most enthralling videos I've ever seen.
That's great. Yeah, and there's stuff like that everywhere. I'll be watching guys, and I'm like, I didn't know that I was interested in this, and it's fascinating, right? It doesn't matter. Luthiers fixing guitars, I love it. I like watching people who are good at what they do. I guess if you're like, man, I can respect the time it took to be that good at that. That's really cool.
I like it when people show you the inner workings of things that are.
Yeah.
Like you just take it for granted. Like, well, that's just it, right? But then when you actually get into it, you see it through the eyes of somebody who's an expert. It's like it opens up a whole different thing.
Yeah. Oh, I was watching a guy that restores hi-fi equipment from the 70s and 80s. you know, the really good stuff, the Akais and Pioneers, and he takes them all apart and new capacitors and cleans it all up, and just the level, and a young guy too, and the level of technical knowledge and understanding and proficiency, and he has all the tools. Guys that restore watches, I had no idea like when you're putting new bearings in the flywheel of a watch, you know, and it's all under a microscope, and like it's like, you know, it's just amazing that that's out there, and it's just really cool to see.
Yeah, there was a guy who used to hang out at my coffee houses. His name was Noodles, and he got in. I hadn't seen him in like 10 years or so, and he got into restoring vintage audio equipment. And I told him, he's explaining the stuff that he does, and he showed me some pictures where he was working on. He says, "You need to be on YouTube. This is like really good stuff."
Mm-hmm. Kevin Smith 7697 is asking if they're going to crush all those old cars. Yes, that's what I was told, and I've got no reason to believe that that's not the case. The gentleman that owns those cars is in his 90s. He bought those cars in the 60s, and you know, they've been selling parts off of this. Like, there's literally cars there that I bought parts off of 30 years ago, and the car is still there. There's no other wrecking yard like this in the world, probably, where there's cars back there with 1969 plates on them. And the car was, I bought a 61 Fury because I have this something I was dropped as a child. And the car, well, I literally bought the fender off of that car for my 61 30 years ago, and the car has a 1969 plate on it, and it's been sitting there since it was 8 years old, and now the car is like 67 years old or 66 years old. Same car sitting in the same place in the same field, and there's literally hundreds and hundreds of them. But the guy is you know, he's 90 some, and he, like, at a certain point they got to go, and so I'm going to buy what I can, but I can't buy 300, you know, post-war cars. Like, but it is, yes, the short answer is yes, they're going to crush them. So it's, the trouble is that they've been parted out, so trying to find, a lot of those cars have had no parts taken off of them, but a lot of the cars have had a lot of parts taken off of them, and to just buy an empty carcass and then have to try and find all the parts is not practical. So sadly, they're going to lose a lot of cars. But you know, the thing is, and the way I got over it was, anywhere else in the world, all these cars would have been crushed by 1975. So the fact that these cars got an extra 40 years for people to take parts off of them, well, we should be happy with that. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, you can't crush it sentiment out there, and I just say, well, how many did you buy? Oh, I can't buy any. Well, then they're getting crushed. Like, sorry, you know, not everybody has an extra $20,000 and 80 acres to just fill it up with scrap. So it is too bad, but it is, that's the way it goes. Yeah, it's sad because there's pre-war cars there. Wow. And rows of them. Like, you go to a junkyard, you'd be happy to see a 59 Chevy. There's rows of 59 Chevys, rows of 60 Chevys, rows of 61s. It's insane. But
when are they crushing out?
Sorry, what?
When are they doing this?
Oh, this summer. Yeah.
This summer?
Yeah. Well, scrap price.
People get out there, so you got to make people aware of it.
Oh yeah. But the thing is, complete cars, they're not there to sell parts anymore. If you want it, you got to buy the whole thing, and that's what stops most people. And these cars, like, what do you think your 57 Dodge would look like if it sat in a field in the mud for 70 years? You know, is that really getting restored? No, it's not. So it's sad.
Mexican Spec is saying his name was Noodles, that his mother here. No, but funny story about that. His name was actually Tony. Okay, so he was like 16. He started hanging out at one of my coffee houses, and people would say Tony, and I would turn around and they'd be talking to him. And so we were watching Pink Flamingos one night, and the baby in Pink Flamingos was named Noodles. And I was like, that's you, bro. That's your noodles. So from that point on, in the coffee house, I started calling them noodles. Well, then all of his friends started calling him noodles, and his girlfriend started calling him noodles, and eventually his mom started calling him noodles. So he is known through the landscape here.
Man, that's a good nickname when your mom prefers it. Yes. Yeah. So,
did you see the? Did you watch Graveyard Cars at all?
No.
I'm not really a fan myself, but he did a video I nerded out on last week, where they found a 74 Barracuda that had never been registered, was never sold. But the cool thing about this car was that it was never prepped either. So it was like literally as it was delivered off of the truck to the dealership.
Wow, yeah.
The trim rings are in the trunk, and
yeah, plastic on the seats, and
right. The car had never been prepped, and he was pointing out all like the factory imperfections.
So is that destined for the Mopar Nationals then?
Oh, I have no idea.
It would have to be like.
But I thought that was freaking awesome because it was a car as it was delivered. He was showing all the defects on the car. That the grill, the bumper filler doesn't, it's off by a quarter inch on each side, and the emblem on the hood has got a bend to it because they didn't drill the hole straight. And it's when they restore cars today, they're restoring.
No, that's all gone. I photographed a beautiful original '68 Fury at a car show just to show people how rough they were. Like there were welds that are supposed to be in the wheel lip that were like on the outside of the body because it was Friday, like, or whatever, right? And I'm like, this thing is. It was a low end car. It was a Fury 1 2-door post or whatever. But it was 100% original, 17,000 miles or something, not 0 miles, but an untouched car. And and I kind of I show people that. I'm like, just so you know, this image that you have of a restored car is fantasy, right? Like, so.
Well, that car is proof of it. There are so many little imperfections and weirdnesses and stuff like that.
We had a 75 Fury wagon when I was a kid, and they put the windows in with butyl, in the back.
Yeah.
And the butyl had kind of like squished out, and it was on the interior panels. My brother and I would pick the butyl out of the windows and get shit from my dad.
I can picture that. I've seen that.
You've seen the butyl that they use, and it was before urethane, so you could just pick it out of the car because it wasn't really hiding, And they were that era. They were pretty put together,
So the Bill Howard show is saying, I really like the classic cars bone stock series you started. It's not really a series, but you continue to do more bone stock cars in the future. When I come across them, yes, I do like bone stock cars. I'm one of those people. I like blown nitro. I like just the way it came from the factory. It's like I have a broad, interest in cars. So as I come across them, Paul just happens to be a special case that happens to live here in Murfreesboro, and we met, and that's what he's got.
Yeah, that's a sweet car.
Like that, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a sweet car. I saw that.
There's a 75 Monte Carlo for sale. It's a little rough. If it was just a tad cleaner, I would have stopped and shot a video on that yesterday.
Yeah,
I got up on it, and you can see it's a little too rough around the edges to be considered to be like a survivor or really a video worthy car.
Yeah,
but my eyes are always open for stuff like that.
Yeah, have you noticed your head turning when you see cars that you never would have looked twice at?
Say that again now?
Have you noticed your head turns now that when you see a car that some time ago you never would have looked twice at?
Absolutely.
I was at A&W one day, and an 84 Mercury Topaz pulled in. It was brown, and it looked 6 months old. And I'm like, what the hell? And I hated those cars. They were just everywhere. But I haven't seen a brown Topaz L since about 1989. And this thing had just come out of some weird time machine. Nobody would restore that car. So it was a completely original car.
No,
and it's just like, wow. I wanted to go like take a video of it, but I was like, kind of stop myself.
I'm with you. I love stuff like that when it pops up.
Yeah.
Especially like Vegas, Monzas, Mustang 2.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's like in the old days, it's like, yeah. But now it's like, yes, look how majestic that thing is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like a Mustang 2 King Cobra or something. Like those were ridiculous. But if you see one on the street now, you're like, man, that's some dedication. Somebody's got some effort into keeping that going, and that's really cool. Even if it's not my kind of car, it's even more interesting because it's not. Like that's really cool that somebody would do that.
The official Ronan, thank you for the super chat. I knew a guy that had an 80 Seville diesel for a daily.
That's hardcore, eh?
That's pretty well.
I like those. I like those slant back Sevilles. I actually think they're cool. Actually, we made a Seville out of an Olds Cutlass, or no, that was an Olds Omega. Me and my buddy Kyle.
Oh,
that's an Olds Omega 4-door sedan that we cut up. We did it in a weekend. Scott Kuhn has a question.
I mean, mechanically, that Seville is bulletproof, but man, little things will drive you crazy. Heater control parts and just the odds and ends have got to be really difficult to stay on top of with that. Now, there's somebody else into super chat.
Just below it there, yeah.
Raccoon, Bristow, Oklahoma, restored the Chrysler Plymouth sign the dealer put up in 1949 on Route 66. Turned it back on for the first time last night. That's cool.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah,
I never got into signage and like Petroleum and stuff like that. It doesn't really do anything for me, but I do appreciate when people bring back historic markers.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it too, and it's but I'm the same. Like I'm into it. I like the cars. I don't need the signs and the oil and
right.
To me, that just takes away from the car money, but I'm glad other people are saving it because I would hate to think that nobody saved that stuff. But, and if the right sign came along, I would buy one. If I could find a Kaiser service or something like that, that'd be cool.
Bill Hound is saying, can you name some reasons you like bone stock cars and do you prefer them over hot rods? For anything that you drive on the street, yes. Yeah, hot rods are not. There was a time, and it doesn't exist anymore, okay? But there was a time when you went out with your car, your hot rod, you were going to race, okay? You were going to race, and it was usually stoplight to stoplight, or you'd hop along, you'd hop back and forth with somebody, and then you'd go off someplace and you'd go race. And back in those days, yeah, it made sense, of course. Drive a hot rod, because you're going to have fun during the course of the day or the night with your hot rod. But that doesn't exist anymore. Those days are gone. And so driving a hot rod on like as a regular, as a daily is just it's like an exercise in it's futile. It's an exercise in just complication and frustration. It doesn't need to be. But in the meantime, the older cars were engineered so well, so beautifully, and we took it for granted back in the day. It was just like, just another friggin' Toronado, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you actually look at these cars today, through the lens of the disposable crap that's out there, you gain a whole new appreciation for it. And I find myself now like Paul's Galaxy with 302. I would never imagine in a million years swapping in a big block into that thing and doing all kinds of stupid stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect, just the way it is. And if he maintains it the way it was originally designed, it'll function.
It'll last forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
these cars, we've reached a point where if you've got a stock original car, this is a national treasure now. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not something to take for granted anymore. It's representative of a period of history when we were analog machinery, like things that we could build and control and maintain and use that were friendly, and they talked to us, they communicated with us, but they didn't do it electronically. They did it with their squeaks and their rattles and their, you know what I mean? And like those days are gone. So to me, these older cars, stock original cars, are kind of like sacred. Don't touch it. Leave it exactly the way it is.
Yeah, and I've resisted even on the Model T. I'm like, there's a lot of upgrades that were available even in the 30s that I have not installed. I'm like, I want it to be a Model T, right down to the wooden engine parts. Like, even I just, for me, they're like time machines, and I want to experience that car the way that the people who owned it when it was new experienced it. So, you know,
well, there's a lot to be said for the time machine aspect of it, because I'll take an older car, and I've got a lot of back roads in my area where my area is back. You get outside of the city, and it's like forever, just roads that go here and there, and you'll go for miles and never see any sign of the modern world. And you take the car from the 60s or the 70s, and you go rolling.
Yeah. It's as close as we can get, right?
It's as close as you can get, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And maybe
where I am here, I can go drive on a gravel road without a single light or a sign in a Model T, and all I'll see is an occasional barn, and that's as close as we're getting, and I'm okay with that.
It's probably different for a younger guy that who wasn't there at that time. So it's like, it's a nostalgia trip for somebody like us. But it's still, they're time machines. They're time machines.
Yeah, they are. And that was what was so weird about that junkyard I was just in, is like, that whole yard was a time machine to 1970. But all those cars that are so iconic now were just junk. Like, you see a row of 59 Chevs, like, those cars are sought after now. To see 10 of them lined up in the junkyard ready for the crusher is an experience that you're never going to have again. And I watch a lot of old wrecking yard videos on YouTube. I love old found footage that people have brought. I love that stuff. There's videos of crusher yards from California in the 60s and 70s, and just forklifts with all these fair lanes and stuff going into the shredder, and it's just, wow, you know.
My neighbor Sean, who I'm doing the bike thing with, he has a diesel, a late model Ford diesel, and the impeller seal on the turbocharger took a shit. So I hadn't seen the truck in a couple of days, and then he hasn't been on. He's been pretty scarce. So I saw him today, and he was changing some hoses on the thing, and he's telling me about the job that he did on this thing. And he's a mechanic. He's a fleet mechanic. So it's not like he's not a backyard tinkerer. This guy's a mechanic.
Yeah.
18 hours. It took him 18 hours to change the turbocharger on this thing, because you have to lift the body to do it the right way. You got to lift the body off the frame, and he's not equipped to do that. So it took him 18 hours to do this turbocharger. If he wasn't a mechanic, just a tinkerer, what would it have been like 30 hours?
Months, okay. Yeah. Well, and some of the stuff that you got to do now for maintenance type of items, like, it seems that anything you got to do now, the intakes coming off, and the water. My friend is a mechanic, and he put a water pump in a Cayenne the other day. I mean, and he showed me his bench. He took a picture of it and sent it to me, and his bench was like, the bumper was off, the rad support's out. This was for some chicken shit maintenance item, like a water pump that you expect a car is going to go through a couple of water pumps. You had to pull the whole front of the car off. It was insane. And I'm just like so happy that I'm not a mechanic now.
Well, the conversation continuing on that thing, when we're sitting in his driveway, and he's got the hood up, but he's showing me all the shit that he had to do. And I says, do you really? Is it worth it? He says, man, I wish I had my OBS big block back, right? And I was like, well, why'd you get rid of it? He says, well, because it needed body work and this and the other thing. I says, dude, in the same 18 hours that you spent changing this turbocharger, you could have done all of the metal work and slammed a bunch of mud into the thing.
Yeah, the whole car. Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you're right. And I think that's where it's going. I think that's where it's going.
Well, we can hope. I mean, if enough people get sick of it, then suddenly less of these aftermarket places are going to have to go bankrupt. I mean, maybe there's a bit of an oversupply now, but that's not going to be the case forever. So,
okay, Zero's telling me to read Rocco's comment. Let me scroll up and find Rocco's comment. Okay. Rocco, Tony, please officially form the Church of the Analog Automotive. Let us know when the Feast of St. Lieberman is. St. Lieberman, a jungle. Okay, I like that. I'm old enough. I remember very, very distinctly. I'm a kid. I'm like 13, 14 years old. I'm hanging around my neighbors that work on cars, and I'm just learning as much as I can and absorbing. And electronic ignition was new. Okay, just a simple thing, electronic ignition. Okay, where they started putting them in cars in 1973, 1974, 1975, and by the time I was getting involved in it, those cars were coming in for tune-ups and
mm-hmm.
And I remember very distinctly the overriding sentiment was, you're not going to be able to fix these cars, and it was based on the fact that it had electronic ignition. That was the thing. And they were right. Okay, they were right.
But to be fair, you can't fix those boxes.
They were extrapolating into the future. Okay, so in their minds, then at that time, they were thinking in 5 years they're not going to be able to work on it. It was closer to 50 years. But the point is, every step of progress that these cars made took them one step further away from that analog simplicity.
And I saw this happening. I used to work in a collision shop with a fellow who's very good. And we did collision, and this would be in the early mid-90s, and the airbags started coming out.
Oh,
and I saw a lot of repairable cars getting written off for airbag because it just puts such a premium on the repair. Plus, when the airbag goes, it ruins the dashboard and the windshield, and you got to replace every sensor. So I'm like, an airbag takes a minor or moderate repairable accident into write-off. And I just thought, what's this going to be in 20 years? Well, here we are. Everything is just, it's unrepairable. And that's,
in my mind, the high watermark, right? The absolute pinnacle of automotive, the interface between humans and machines. And when it comes to cars and even like motorcycles, just machinery in general, I'm sure it applies to farm equipment. The pinnacle, the high watermark was 1970. I think you got the 1970 and you had stuff that was comfortable, reliable, safe, but at the same time, it was repairable. It was friendly. You could maintain it. It would last indefinitely. And the proof of that is the fact that even today, all these years later, since all of this stuff is completely obsolete, we're still messing with big block Mopars.
Yep.
We're still messing with small block Chevys. We're still messing with.
And as you pointed out, they're still viable in today's traffic.
They're still viable, and like almost to drive the point home. Okay, almost to drive the point home. Have you seen a check engine light, Scott?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
the check engine light. So the check engine light is clearly an engine. It's an engine, and it's got a round air cleaner on the top, right? And no car that ever came equipped with a check engine light had an engine that
had a round air cleaner on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the check engine light is showing you a 1970 engine.
Yeah.
And this is the engine. That what you got right here.
Oh, that's funny. I never thought of that. Oh, Darren or Nerad Johnson. Sorry, buddy. I can't help but read your name the other way. Asked if the Model T is turning 100 this year. Yes, it's a 1926 T. So that car is 100 years old. That's and awesome. I'm going to drive the hell out of it this year.
That's awesome.
Just, and you can get away with it out here. I'm far enough out in the country that it's not a big deal. But yeah, well, my friend Jim, he figures cars kind of peaked in about, well, not peaked, but he figures everything after the 1964 Ford was kind of redundant. Like by then you got your small block that is still buy parts for today.
Yes.
At least we hope so. What year did that 260 come out? 62.
221 first.
Oh, the 220. Yeah, because so that was 1962 in the Fairlane, I think.
Yeah.
And so derivatives of that engine, I mean, that went for a long time. And the 64 Galaxy is still one of the toughest cars ever made. I don't think that Ford ever made a tougher car than a 64 Galaxy 500.
If you can find, I'm just rolling a cigarette over here.
Oh yeah, Sid Ryder says, "What's the compression ratio in a Model T?" It's 4-1. So it's it's 4.0 to 1. But of course, it's a 177 cubic inch, so that's what, just about 3 liter, and you had to start it by hand, so you can't have a massive amount of compression. Official Veronin asks, is there a reason why older cars had 5-digit odometers? Yeah, I guess because it was cheaper than 6. Most cars back then didn't make 200,000 miles. So,
well, you got the country, our country at least, was set up differently back in those days. So the 5-digit odometer really reflected the fact that you didn't have the interstate system. People didn't travel the way they do today.
yeah.
Right? The suburbs were very close to the cities, and people would take trains and they would take buses.
Yeah.
It was a common thing to drive.
They didn't have 50-mile commutes.
Right. You know, it was the common thing even when I was a kid for whoever was going to go work in the city to get dropped off at the train station. So cars made tons of short trips. The interstate highway system wasn't finished until the very early 70s. So the tradition of the 5-digit odometer comes from a period of time when you weren't going to go 100,000 miles with this car during the course of like normal use.
Yeah. And I've got a lot of cars from the 50s, early 50s, and the mileage tends to sit like, and when I buy them, they're obviously long retired. I'm talking about the ones that are like basically salvaged from junkyards. They have between 60 and 75,000 miles. So the extra digit just didn't really come up that often back then. Now, by the 70s, cars were easily able to rack up 200.
Now, this goes to the fact of longevity too. Cars from that era, the pre-interstate and early interstate era, right, died at young mileage because there was tons of short trips, lots and lots of short trips where the car never really actually got, worked through the way today's cars are. And so it was just a different world, and that tradition of the five place odometer lasted well past the period of time that, because by the 70s it was normal for an odometer to roll over, and at that point it was like, okay, well, let's add the next digit, and then
and then it became necessary because the cars were viable. But if you look at cars in 1940, 30, 40, 50, by the time that car was 10 years old, there was 100 reasons why it wasn't viable. Because, right, I mean, the state of the art was advancing so quickly that, like, if you look at Model Ts, by the time they were 10 years old, there was none on the road. They made 15 million of them, but by 1936, the car was way too slow to even keep all the traffic. So that's why they literally just fed them into the crushers. They drove them into the crushers because it didn't matter. They don't even have odometers because who cared? They don't have speedos.
I saw a video not too long ago. It was a film from a Ford film where they were melting down Model Ts.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Where they've got these cars on the conveyor?
Yeah, and they would come in on trailer loads of them and just melt them down, just to get them off the road. And it's amazing that any survived, really. But I could still buy all the parts for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So actually, I watched a video yesterday, I think it was, about a guy who built a brand new World War II Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
Because the bodies are available in the Philippines, right? Complete body. So you're able. He even got a brand new engine block.
Really? Who makes that?
Yeah. The only parts that he wasn't able to find new to build this thing were the differentials, the front and rear diffs. That was it. Everything else, all of the suspension pieces, all of the body pieces, all of the engine pieces, he was able to build it from scratch. Right? So Bill Hound is saying, in your opinion, what is the cutoff for good cars as far as late years of good cars and the earliest for daily drivers? Cutoff for me, I'm gonna say earliest 2000s, and as an example of that are my X days, which are all of that era. So these are 1980s vehicles that just kept getting updated until 2000, 2001 when they stopped production. I would consider that to be about the end of like simplistic, and it's a minefield because the further into the 2000s you get, or closest to 2000, the more complicated, the more finicky, the more trouble-prone cars become. So it becomes a minefield. Where if you go back to, let's say, 1969, okay, literally anything built in 1969 is survivable today.
Yeah.
Or you can get parts for it. You can fabricate parts. You'll make that shit run, or you'll make the wipers work. Okay.
I still think I would go. Well, what year they stopped making Crown Vics? To me, 2011. I think I should know the difference. To me, that's the last real car. If you can get a hold of one of those things are hammers. You can put 500,000 miles on. And the earliest cars, well, I guess my daily drivers can be 1930s. But if I lived in the city, I would be inclined to say 1965 and newer.
Yes.
If you want something with an automatic choke and a good heater and proper wipers, and you can still buy tires at the store for them, mid 60s, but that's still pretty cool. Like that's 60 years ago. Yeah. And a 66 Bel Air with a 283 and a Power Glide, that'll last you the rest of your life.
I agree with him 100%. I use the cutoff, or in my mind, it's pre-interstate, post-interstate. Because once the interstates became the thing, because Eisenhower started that in 57, I think it was. They started laying them out. And then through the 60s, it was the build out of it. And by 1965 or so, interstate travel, consistent 60 mile, 70 mile an hour travel was a thing. And so the cars evolved. The newest cars from 1964, 1965 evolved with that idea of extended high-speed travel. And so they're completely viable to use today. Mm-hmm. Whereas you get cars previous to that, and some of them will make it. It's not that you can't take a 55 Chevy, a stock one, and run it across the country, but it's going to have 390 gears in it. It's going to have it's not the suspension, the brakes, the tires, unless you go with factory sizes, aren't really up to snuff for the conditions you run into today. But you take anything post interstate era, 1969, 70 car, just go out and use it. Just don't even think twice about it. Get in, turn the key, and go. So that's
you don't have to think about it. Yeah. Some Joe KR had a good point. Buick 3.8s up to 2009. Those are hammers.
So the 3800.
3800s, yeah.
Yeah, not the 3.8 so much. The 3800.
Oh, I didn't know there was a difference.
They redesigned the motor.
Oh, okay.
And that was they went from the odd fire, or took from the even fire to whichever one. They staggered the throws on the crankshaft. They refined a lot of little things on the engine. So even though it is a 3.8 and its lineage is a 3.8,
it is different. Okay.
Because it's just a completely revised.
Interesting. Those are
and actually the LS has its roots in the 3800.
Okay, I didn't know that, but those are great engines. I would still, and I'm not like a fan of the styling of the car, but one of those Delta 88s from the early 90s with the 3.8, that's a perfectly reliable car.
So Mitten Made Muscle says his brother drove a 49 Ford with its original untouched flathead to Texas and back to Michigan on hot rod power tour. Only mod was the T5 Trans. Yes, because that flathead It'll run literally forever at 2,000 RPM. That's what it's designed to do. That's its happy place, and it'll go 2,500. And the T5 allowed it to do that. But now take that thing with a non-overdrive transmission and the 411 gear that it came with from the factory, and try to make that trip with it. No,
you'll just have to take your time. Yeah.
Right.
And BTC.
See, okay, so Thunderbird 68 is saying Crown Vics are sweet cars, but I cannot for the life of me find out what's wrong with mine to the point I'm seriously considering parting it out. Yeah, they became complex. I mean, what Scott's saying is true. They're like anvils. It was the ultimate fleet car. Every taxi, every cop car was a Crown Vic. So yeah, clearly they're rugged cars, but they're complex cars compared to, you know what I mean? The earlier stuff. So you do get these mystery problems that pop up. I don't know. Like when I was younger, I used to love mysteries, right? I had a buddy of mine who worked over at a local Ford dealer. And when they got cars that were just, we don't want to waste our time with this, electronic shit, they'd send it to me. And I loved that. Picking through the problems, mysteries, you know what I mean? There was an LSC from the dealership in my driveway every week. Okay. There was always something. And now I'm the exact opposite. My days are numbered, and I don't want to spend them trying to decipher some kind of bizarre code and nonsensical routing of things. You just don't have the time for it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like simple, but I also, I don't know, all the Citroens and stuff, they're complex by the standards of the day, but they're mechanical complex. Like there's completely
analog.
Yeah, it's a completely analog thing. So even though by the standards of 1970, a Citroen DS is extremely complex, but the thing is, and I've said this a lot of times, it's not like with automatic transmissions and stuff that at first seem like, oh, this is a bit daunting, but it's not like you have to design it. That would be different. If somebody said, make me an automatic transmission, here's some dirt, call me when you're done. That would be impossible. But here's one, take it apart, find the parts that are worn out, replace them and put it back together. That shouldn't be that hard. So
anybody can
as long as it's mechanical, but electronic stuff like, oh, the left taillight doesn't work when you turn the wipers on and stuff. I'm like, light it on fire. I have no idea.
Well, I saw this latest thing. There was a couple of people took a side-by-side out. Okay, it was a Polaris. Yeah. I think it was a Polaris.
Yeah.
And they took it out into the Netherlands. Okay, just like not the Netherlands, but the Netherlands, right? And belt broke. So they brought a spare belt because I guess they anticipated, what could happen? The belt can break. So they brought a spare belt and the tools to change the spare belt. And they changed the belt and they fired this thing up to start heading back, and it won't go. It's done. It won't move. The computer sensed that there was a problem with the engine or whatever it happened to be, and it shut the thing down and would have to be towed to the dealership for them to reset it. So it's like this is what you're up against today. This is like even the simplest thing.
Yeah, even when you do it right. Yeah. No, and my mechanic friend tells me about this. Like, if you change the battery in a car, there's some codes and bullshit. Like, no, I won't have any of that.
Well, everything is like that now.
Yeah, no,
everything is like that. Headlights are like that. Taillight, everything is like that. You change.
Oh yeah, $1,000 taillight bulbs now. Yeah, no, I won't have. That's.
And that brings us back to the first thing we were talking about. I think tonight. I think that we're at the dawn of a rush into older vehicles. I think normies are starting to get it. They're starting.
Will they get it, or will they just wait for China to import $5,000 throwaway cars?
Well, clearly not everybody is going to get it. I mean, there's no question about it. But people who are inclined to be independent.
I've always said the smartest people I know drive old cars.
Yes.
And I've always said myself that, people who drive new cars just can't afford old ones, because you buy an old one, you have to pay for it up front. And
Dude, we're over the 2-hour mark here.
Oh, see, this happens, right?
No,
I haven't even looked at it. Yeah.
Well, pick one or two more.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not in a hurry, but I understand that it's not meant to take up everybody's entire day either. So,
I'll tell you what. Keep them busy for a minute. I'll be right back, because you only rent orange juice. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you bet. Okay. Yeah, Oscar Gonzalez has a great point. He says, why are manufacturers making things disposable and we're being told that we have to save the environment, right? There's this delusion out there that when you crush old cars that you somehow get back all the energy it took to make them, which is, of course, ridiculous. The most green thing that you can do is not buy new cars. And if enough people boycott that entire industry, maybe there's hope, but it's hard to say if that'll happen. Some people are just not going to have it. See, Kroom 1278 said, would you concerned if your points are blued from heat? The only way I could see that happening is if the car is left. Now, of course, the actual mechanic has left the room, so I'm just going to bullshit you guys. Anybody has any ideas? I would say that's if the points are hot from the only way that I've seen that happen is if you've left the key on in the car without it running. That will burn the points eventually. The other thing is if the points are new, if the points came from an auto parts store and they're made somewhere where they don't know how to pronounce that type of car, chances are the points are actually no good. And I would stuff like that. If you can go on eBay, you can still go on eBay depending on what the car is, and you can buy points, like buy AC Delco points if it's a GM car. I've bought points from brand name auto parts stores that I replaced the points that have been in the car for 30 years, and the set that I put in lasted 2 weeks. So I don't even bother anymore. If I will take the old points and I just file them down and put them back in.
Yep. Well, I found it's the rubbing blocks, the white plastic rubbing blocks that you find on these things. No matter how you lube them, they're good for like 2,000 miles max.
Yeah. What happened to mine is the little thing, it broke. It actually fatigued and broke off.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean the tip of the contact?
Well, the little arm that the tip sits on the arm, and the arm is a piece of pressed steel. Yeah. And there was and the pressed steel fatigued and the little tip just broke off it. Oh. And that's not only me. Like a friend of mine, same thing happened on his. So it's, if you can't get the real thing, better to file down the old ones. But the question was, why are the points blue? And I said the only time I've ever seen that is if you leave the key on.
Or you run it without a ballast resistor.
Right. Oh, I suppose, but that seems like you have to deliberately.
Could be overcharging, or running without a ballast resistor or a ballast wire. Like if you run, see, a lot of people aren't aware because they think, oh, ballast resistor, that's a Chrysler thing, right? We don't need that. But Ford, General Motors, everybody else used a wire. So you on all of these point ignition systems, regardless of the manufacturer, there are 2 feeds for it. And one of them is going to come either off of the starter or the solenoid.
Yeah, one when you're cranking.
Solenoid on a GM is going to be on the starter itself, on the starter solenoid. And that's going to be your start,
it's full 12 volts, yeah.
Right, full 12 volts to start the engine. And then when you let go of the key, so it's in the run position, now it's going to feed through a resistor wire that's going to go to the coil. So a lot of people aren't aware of that. And I say, well, it's not a Chrysler, so I don't have to put a ballast resistor, but I'm just going to wire this with regular wires from the ignition switch to the coil. And they end up overheating the points and the coil because they didn't incorporate a resistor.
So
So
I guess
to be aware
without knowing if this is a homemade wiring job, we don't really know. But assuming everything else is factory, I would say the key has been left on, or the points are just cheap Chinese defective garbage.
Yeah, well, but blue is a sign of heat. So there's.
I figured that out because I had a car, I still have it, and it would start, it would be running, and then when you let the key, it would just shut off. And I'm like, okay, ballast resistor.
Okay, so this is Kroom. Is that who's asking a question?
Yes, I think so. Yes, yeah.
Okay, he's saying it has a ballast resistor, the one recommended for the coil. So I imagine you have is it a super coil? Because if it is, that's not enough. On the super coil, it uses its own ballast resistor, but it's also in conjunction with either the ballast wire or the ballast resistor. So just having the ballast resistor for a coil that calls for specific ballast resistor is not enough. Just so you guys know.
Oh, okay. There we go.
I'm just scrolling up here.
Sure. D. Strauss says, hey, Scott, that offset style Mopar air cleaner that you got recently looks like one from a 58 Dodge 325 Poly. Yes, I did see that video, and we kind of had figured that out before that. But yeah, I was pretty excited to get that. Those are very hard to find. And to just see it in the junkyard and pay $10 for it, I was excited. And so that will be going on top of the WCFB on my Poly. So that's exciting. That's going to be my big performance upgrade this year.
Let's see. See, I don't understand stuff like this. Yeah, George, I'm not picking on you. This is something I just cannot wrap my head around. I'm restoring my one owner 66 Mustang. I bought a computer, ESP32, that runs all the lights on the car, including sequential turn signals. The cost was $18. Makes everything simpler to wire. Until it goes bad. Until something happens, until there's an electrical surge or of some sort, or why would you overcomplicate a simple machine? I don't know.
Yeah. Now, he does say he built a computer. I mean, if you built your own computer.
Well, if you built it, okay, well, that's different.
If you can build your own computer, then you can probably wire a Mustang any way you like.
Yes, I give you that. Yeah, George. Okay, I didn't realize. I thought it said bought. But if you built it, well, I'm not going to second guess you because you're a smarter man than I am.
I don't know the first thing about them. Sometimes I get a little worried because I have to, if you do this for a living, you have computers, and it's like my entire business model is resting on something that I know nothing about. Like when this computer shits the bed at 4 a.m. and I've been up editing for 12 hours and the videos have to be done, I'm just completely helpless. And and you're just like, why did I put all my eggs in the computer basket? So,
Bill Howe is saying, what's your dream daily driver? I own it. There's nothing I can dream about that I couldn't own. The XJs. The XJs are the absolute ultimate perfect daily drivers. I mean, you name it, I've driven it. I have seen goats fucking the marketplace. Okay, you name it, been there, done it, got the t-shirt. The XJ is the greatest vehicle. I've said it before. It is man's greatest achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Our civilization maxed out at the XJ. So I would say that would be it.
I don't know. Well, I think you had the other greatest daily driver before it, which was the Dodge Dart.
I still have it.
That was my first car. And I think I'm going to end up back in A body town one day.
Yeah,
My
eventually.
favorites are 67, 8, 9.
Well, the one I kept, I got rid of everything. I got rid of so many cars, but the one I kept was my 64.
Yeah.
The 170, and it'll go back on the road. And Kathy used to love driving that car. That was our daily driver for about 10 years.
No kidding.
The primary daily driver. We've always had multiple cars, but that was the one that was just always, zipping around here and there. And she loved driving that car because it was like a roller skate.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a fun, happy little car. It was just, it's like the happy dog that just wags its tail and says, "Come on, let's go do something." That's the way that car was. It was always like, "Come on, let's go for a ride."
Yeah.
So great personality, just an awesome personality.
Yeah. And they have a real feel to them. The brakes had a really good feel, and the steering box, as you mentioned, I think last time we talked, it's your favorite steering box.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could just, it was just the cars are not large in traffic. They're just a perfect car. They're the closest to a perfect car that we're going to get. And
the older I get, the more I value friendly personality in a machine. It's like, and I think you only get that. See, a lot of younger guys aren't going to really can't really wrap their head around that because they go speed, muscle, right? And I get it. I know I've been there. I'm one of you, okay? But I'm out through the other side. So it's like I've already had the muscle, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like I just want personality. I just want something that's like happy to drive. It's like, let's go for a ride. That's what I'm looking for.
I've gotten rid of cars that didn't make me smile, even though they were perfectly good. And I put up with a lot of crap from a car if it makes me smile too, to a point. Like, don't leave me stranded. Car leaves me stranded twice, it's gone. But if it doesn't leave me stranded, the car that makes me laugh, that it is my daily driver, is a 45-year-old Renault. I don't know if you've ever driven a lay car. Those things are hilarious, right? You go around a corner and it's like it's going to tip over. Those things are so fun. And, would I say that it's the best daily driver? No, not even close. But it certainly makes me smile.
And that's what counts.
And I had AJP 75 says old Volvos for sure. I had 240s and 244s and 42s and 45s. And all just hammer cars. I had one that I paid $300. It had 450,000 kilometers, which is 300,000 miles. And I just hammered it to work and back. Great car, but it wasn't really fun. It was, I didn't get out of a big smile on my face. Great cars, but the Saab of the same vintage, same country, the Saab, you just. And I drive like a grandpa, and the Saab made you want to drive like a hooligan. It was the same kind of thing, but it was just way more fun. Even though now I got rid of it because it was broken every time you wanted to use it. Even if it was just, they put the fuse box under the hood next to the radiator, right? So it would, every time you go anywhere, you had to spin the fuses, make sure the lights would come back on. You know what I mean? I'd get out at a set of lights and give them a spin so that I could signal, stupid thing. And the water pump that was gear driven off the cam that you couldn't buy. Eventually I was like, I love it, but it's gotta go,
Spin the fuse. I remember that.
That
was the worst friggin',
because they were aluminum.
Bad enough, but those things were just ridiculous.
They were aluminum in a steel holder. So it would corrode.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, just nothing. The wipers would shut off. You give him a spin. But in the Saab, you had to open the hood. In the Volvo, you could spin them at the lights from sitting in the driver's seat.
There's back up. Buddy Carfano is saying 68 to 72 GM A-body perfect daily driver. I would agree.
Yeah. Well, there was a time when 73 to 77 I didn't like either, but I would have a 76 I would extend that up to 77 now.
Jamie's in the house. If
Hey,
you think you can stream all night, you could just come join me. Aren't you on already, bro? It's like he must be on.
Oh well, we're interrupting then.
Are we interrupting your?
Oh wait, who's interrupting who here? I don't know.
Let me see if he's on. Have I been unsubbed from Dead God's Garage? Dude, I think I've been unsubbed from you.
See, YouTube.
I didn't get a notification.
Rocco says somebody heard us mention A bodies. That's what happened. So Thunderbird asked if I'm going to be out to the Y Road car meet this summer. I'll probably come.
Where's that at?
Oh, just answering another question here. One of the fellows, Thunderbird 1968, I think is local to me here.
He's on.
Now he's on both of the channels at the same time. Oh, that's awesome.
He's like, where's half my crowd? Because usually we close up, we end up.
Oh, okay.
And in the meantime, Zero put up a link to Cold.
Oh, thank you, Zero. Hey, I'm just gonna check something here, you guys. Oh, look at that. We're up to 72,011. Somehow 12 people subscribed during the live stream.
Congratulations.
We made it, you guys. 72,000 16 years later.
Sweaty fat guy. He dailies a 65 goat. That's a nice.
That's a great daily. Yeah.
That is.
Yeah. I got lots of dailies. I mean, I don't go very far though. That's the thing. I guess that's another thing I would say to people is if it all gets so much easier if you don't need to put on 20,000 miles a year. Right? As soon as I took commuting out of my life, this is long before YouTube was a thing. I worked out of my garage. I just fixed cars for people. And as soon as I took commuting out of my life, you get 2 hours back a day for yourself to do whatever you want. You don't need a reliable car anymore because you don't need to put 20,000 miles a year on. Reducing the amount of pointless driving that some people do is as good as getting a free car. And then when you don't have car payments, suddenly your house is paid off in half the time. Taking commuting out of your life. Now, it's not an option for everybody, but even minimizing it, carpooling, doing whatever, just the amount of wear and tear that comes out of your life. And all that spare time goes to you because all of that time they don't pay you for when you're driving, sitting in traffic. You're not getting paid. All you're doing is wrecking your car. You're going to get in accidents. So I probably put on 3,000 miles a year divided among 15 cars. It's barely a tank of gas in every car.
It's a 22-mile round trip to my shop. So, and I probably do it 3 times a day.
3 times a day?
Yeah. No, because I go there in the morning.
Yeah.
I do whatever I have to do, prep for a video, shoot a video, whatever the task needs to be.
This is the YouTube shop, not the motorcycle shop.
No, the motorcycle shop is 5 miles the other way.
Other way, okay.
But yeah, I make the trip 3 times a day on average. So morning, go there, set up, do whatever I'm gonna do, shoot video. Then I come back. Well, between 2 and 3 times a day. Mm-hmm. Edit, post a video. I'll run back to the shop, clean up whatever I was doing, finish up any loose ends. I'll eat, and then I'll go back at night. So, it's just I'm always running back and forth. It's always at least 2 round trips, and sometimes often 3.
Are you on the bike?
A little bit of everything. I take a bike, I take a car, I take van, whatever I happen to have. whatever I feel like driving, which is one of the nice things about being in this business.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
There are ways to do it.
Terry Smith drove 50 miles each way. Yeah, no.
I dailied my 61 Belvedere for 10 years with a 3-speed unsynchronized column shift and a slant 6.
So Fubar put up a link to my merch. Thank you, Fubar. So you can go follow that and get that hat right
Get
there.
the hat.
Well, no, there's a Superstock shirt. You can't buy this.
Imagine, yeah.
Our UTG shirts. And what about Scott's merch?
Yeah, well, our merch is coming soon. I do have it. We're gonna have. Oh, I'll show you guys sneak preview of our new merch because the mail has been getting ridiculous. People have been asking about hats and stuff, but I thought if we make these, then you can sew them onto any hat you want. So
Nice.
these will be in the store. They're embroidered and they're really nicely done. And then you can sew them on your coveralls or whatever. And then you're not paying for me to ship you a hat when you can go get a hat at the gas station. And, you know, and then not everybody likes the same kind of hat or the same kind of coveralls or jacket and stuff. So there we go. And then way less shipping charges because these can just go in an envelope with a stamp. So that was these will be available starting next weekend. Thank you, guys. There's the plug. There's the plug of the day.
I hate to even go here, right? But I will. National Trails. What do you think about net zero and eliminating fossil? I think it's going to say fossil fuels.
Fossil fuel.
I think that the satanic cannibal kid fuckers that run all of that, I think their days are pretty much over. So, or at least it's the beginning of the end for them. So I don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
It was all virtue signaling to begin with. There was no realistic way any of that was happening.
No.
But they're trying. I mean, but it's fun to watch it coming apart anyway because it's so silly.
It is fun watching it come apart.
Well, and you know, and it, like, how do they expect you to take them seriously when they all fly around in their own bloody airplanes? Like, pound sand, you hypocritical, you know. Like when they say net zero, they mean net zero for you and nothing changes.
You're the carbon they're trying to eliminate.
Yeah, you are the carbon. That's right.
Right. And as far as like the fossil fuel, let's just okay. Listen, anytime you hear the word fossil fuel, turn away. Just bink, it's off. Don't even give it a second thought. As soon as you hear the word fossil fuel, tune away. It's nonsense.
Yeah, well, they're realizing there's only so much that you can bullshit people. I mean, and they've overstepped their believability. They've doubled down too many times on bullshit. And people are finally, I mean, some of us quit listening to them 20-something years ago, and some people are finally now, and that's great. The more, the better.
So I'm proud of. So you gotta explain to you. You got to be the change that you want to see, right? And I'm proud of the fact that I know that me, as well as others in this business, have helped to derail what they were looking to do. Because even though I'm insignificant, I have an insignificant panel, and many others are in the same situation, it's death by 1,000 cuts, okay? And so if I stop them from selling X amount of electric Dodge Chargers, if the next guy stopped them from selling X amount of electric, pickup trucks, whatever it happened to be. Okay, it was death by 1,000 cuts, and those 1,000 cuts came from YouTubers that were like, "This is stupid."
Well, and hence the desperation to control these medias is they can't control the narrative if there's people like you out there calling bullshit on them, and you have an audience, and you know. Well, they tried. That's why they bought it. You know, I'm not going to pretend the people that own YouTube right now are the good guys. They're not.
I don't know. I guess I don't know what's going on. I know there is a change. The whole censorship thing is way more relaxed than it was. There's stuff being talked about. There are things.
Well, I think I'll say this: it is where you are. Canada is not doing.
I know Canada
is not doing well.
I know.
But you know. I don't care. I didn't care 20 years ago, and I don't care now. I'm going to do whatever I want, and you know, whatever.
But collectively, I think that everybody who stood up and says no, this is bullshit, right? And talked about the fires and the repair, the cars being totaled because they hit a bump and they cracked the plastic housing under the battery and all of this nonsense. I think that collectively we all took little bites out of it, little tiny bites out of it. And now the manufacturers, if they want to survive, they have no choice but to turn it around. The charger is the electric charger, huge failure. I like to think that I had a big part in that. I played a role in that. I did at least 5 or 6 videos on that car. They've gotten hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views. I know that had an effect. I know we helped. So yeah, keep going. You know what I mean? Just keep going. Talk to anybody who will listen, or even if they won't listen to you, just keep saying it because eventually it'll sink in.
Well, we've been, I guess a lot of this has passed me by because I wasn't paying attention to it for so long now anyway. People ask me stuff and I'm like, huh? Like I didn't even notice. I didn't even know about the moon thing until like very recently. I think you were talking about it. Like, what? What are you talking about the moon? What are we doing with that? Like I haven't had a TV in 20 something years. I just don't care. It doesn't affect my life is absolutely unchanged.
H. Reardon in 1957 says, look into abiogenetic petroleum. Fossil fuels may be a very misleading term on purpose. Yes, we've talked about this. I see you're probably new. I've talked about this many times on this channel. My theory, my working theory on this, and it's been for a very long time, like for decades, is that because oil just keeps. You think about how much oil is used every day all around the world. Okay, huge amounts of it. Okay. Every single day, day in, day out, for decades, centuries. Okay, there's no amount of organic life on this planet that was able to be converted into fossil fuels that would cover that. That would speak for that. My working theory on this has been that it's a conversion process that happens inside the earth with seawater. That at the bottom of the oceans, and remember the pressure that's at the bottom of the oceans. It's unfathomable the weight that's down there. That there are fissures in the crust of the earth that seawater is forced into. And of course, the closer you get to the core, the hotter things get. And I believe that there's a process that happens within the core of the earth that converts this seawater that's been forced down into these chambers. And then it gets sent back up again, and the earth sweats oil. And find some way to prove me wrong. You know what I'm saying? Find some way to like discredit that general idea, because oil it has all of the markers. It has all that. It's organic. It's organic based. Well, think of what is in seawater. Think how much life is in seawater. That's what oil comes. That's what oil comes from.
Yeah, I think the notion that it's compressed dinosaurs is silly. I think the notion that it is single-celled plant life that's compressed is a lot more realistic, because that's a lot more common than compressed dinosaurs. But I think the idea that if we all just don't waste it, and like, we've got a lot bigger problems than running out of oil, frankly, right now. Like, in terms of keeping the old system, keeping the planet livable is going to be a lot harder than just, electric cars are not the answer. That's just ridiculous. Windmills are not the answer. Sanity is the answer, and that's what we're running out.
So, Scott, let's pack it in here, because
you bet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, so, I'm honored that we would get to hang out, boss.
I keep saying we have to do this on a regular. Honestly, if you and I, we should probably refine this a little bit and maybe do a podcast. You know what I mean? Instead of like just being all over the map, we should probably just pick a topic or two, bullshit about it for a half hour, an hour, and actually turn it into a podcast, because I think we would do pretty good.
I've never considered it. I'm like doing okay. Here's how clued in I am. What's a podcast?
Like, oh, jeez.
Like,
you really don't know
is this a podcast? Like, what's the difference between this and a podcast? Is my question.
This is a live, and it's promoted as a live, and we treat it as a live, because we're interacting between us, and we're interacting with the people, and we don't really have a particular topic. Right. So we're more of like a morning show type of thing, where a podcast would have a title, you know what I mean, a topic. So today we're going to talk about fill in the blank.
Okay.
And kind of stick to that topic and go for a half hour or an hour.
Okay.
I think we would do pretty good.
I think that I would be absolutely game. Let me put it that way. I mean, does this feel like work? No, we're just hanging out.
No, exactly.
So
exactly. Maybe we can even get somebody else in on this. Maybe Jamie wants to sit in on something like that. I think we could. We'll think about it. I can't think about it right now. My brain is just freaking flying.
Sure.
But it's an idea. It's an idea. And yeah, it would be recorded as opposed to doing it like that.
Right, but same kind of, all right, because people talk about podcasts, and I'm like, I don't even really know what that is. I know they've been around for a while. It's a discussion forum, and okay, well, I get it now, because I thought this was a podcast, but it's kind of
it's alive. It's alive.
Okay.
Well, basically, I would think that we could talk about just the world in general through the eyes of car guys.
Yeah, I think
things that affect us. But at any rate,
I'm sure there would be no shortage of things to talk about.
Who said I got to purchase a microphone? What the hell do you call that thing right there? It's been the whole time.
What's funny is that I don't have one, and I don't think it makes any difference.
Because it's that voice of yours, man. You got like the ultimate like guy voice. That's,
really?
It carries, yeah. All right, so guys, if you haven't already, go over there, Coldwarmotors. Go give him a sub and ring his bell and do.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. That was fun.
And everybody who came over from his channel and joined us tonight, thank you so much. I hope to see you guys again sometime soon. And
yes.
Our mods, our fantastic mods, Zero, Fubar, Mexican Spec. Thank you guys, as always.
Thank you guys.
Keeping on track and putting the links to the stuff that we yap about. Thank you so much. Everybody contributed with Super Chat. Thank you. It's never expected, but it's always appreciated. And everybody contributed just with your presence and your conversation. I can speak for Scott by saying we are eternally grateful for you guys giving us the most valuable thing you have, your time.
Right.
And you allow us to do the things that we do. So thank you.
And thank you guys. Yeah, I look forward to it. Well, we'll have to. We'll get
Let
together.
me get the wheels turning a little bit.
Yeah, you got ideas more. Like I say, I don't even know what that stuff is.
I got fancy ideas, man.
Yeah.
I got fancy ideas.
Somebody has to have the ideas.
All right, I'm pulling a plug. Make sure you go over there and sub to him. Jamie is
Thank you, guys.
Jamie's all
72,000.
we got all these people over here to go over to Jamie's, and then I think next
That's
week
right.
we're doing a live tonight also. So you have many options. Keep it going for
Everybody. Very good. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Scott. And I'm going to hit the out button.
Out.
Guys, don't get killed out there.